Courtney, are we expecting a, well, routine win would be slightly unkind on Reading, but the odds would suggest there from William Hill that Derby are firm favourites here tonight.
Yeah, it would, but I think you mentioned something quite interesting about, the game coming up on Saturday against Bolton, and you're thinking, how much are they thinking about that? It's such a big game, and I said to you, as a player, you the line comes out, it's about the next game, that's what we're focusing on. But sometimes, that's what we say, but that's not always the case. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage that today and the excitement going into the game for Saturday.
Teams are out. They've just emerged from the tunnel just down to our left-hand side. Courtney and myself have sat about, 25 rows back in the Toyota West stand here at Pride Park. North stand to our left, full of Derby fans. South stand to our right, also plenty of home support. And in that southeast corner over on the far side, there's about 500 or 600 Reading fans who made the trip up from Berkshire to support their team. Derby in their traditional white shirts and socks with black shorts. Reading are in all purple this evening for their change trip, and I'll remind you of the lineups. For Derby County, unchanged from the weekend. Joe Wildsmith in goal, Curtis Nelson, Sonny Bradley, Ian Cashin in a back three, Joe Ward, Conor Harahan, Ibu Adams and Louis Sibley across midfield. Nathaniel Mendes-Lang and Tom Barkhausen in support of Dwight Gale in attack. Reading, Joel Pereira is in goal, Andy Yiadom, Amadou Mbenge, Tyler Bindon and Clinton Mola in their back four, right to left. Lewis Wing and Charlie Savage holding in midfield. Femi Aziz, Harvey Nibbs and Ben Elliott in behind Sam Smith in attack. Our referee is Charles Breakspear, who's just sorting out the coin toss. There's half a dozen or so young mascots there stood in the centre circle. Looking a bit cold, but it's not actually that chilly here in the East Midlands tonight. Quite mild for this time of year. And they're just waiting for the two captains, Conor Harahan and Andy Yiadom, to be brought together to sort out the coin toss. Derby did lose here to Charlton a couple of weeks ago. That's their only home defeat in 6. And their home record, relatively speaking, is pretty good. 10 wins, 4 draws and 4 defeats, and they've scored 32 goals in home matches this season, only conceding 17. That is one of the best defensive records at home in League One. As for Reading, well, away from home, not great. 3 wins, 5 draws, 10 defeats. But 2 of those wins have come recently at Stevenage and at Carlisle United just a couple of weeks ago, where they won by 3 goals to 1 Reading. So Ruben Selles, despite having so much to contend with off the pitch, is getting results that would see Reading, under normal circumstances, Courtney somewhere in mid-table, maybe even a little higher than that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, isn't it, because he's having to massively overachieve just to try and keep them in the league, because as we mentioned earlier, it's everything happening outside of his control and the points deductions, but all the coaching staff and the players can keep doing is trying to accrue points, trying to win games, and hope by the end of the season that hard work hasn't been taken away from them from outside forces, or rather sort of the management of the club higher up.
Reading will get us underway in that change strip of all purple. They'll be heading for the south stand to our right in this first half. We're underway on Talksport 2 at Pride Park. 9 games to go. Bottle very much required, whichever end of the table you are at. And Reading work the ball out to the left-hand side. There's a run being made down the inside left channel by Lewis Wing, and it forces Derby to clear their lines, and the clearance goes straight out of play from Curtis Nelson. Reading will have a throw on the far side, just over the halfway line, and it's going to be Clinton Mola, who gave away a last gasp penalty that Wickham converted at the Select Car Leasing at the weekend for a last gasp 2-1 victory. Mola is actually challenged off the ball, and here come Derby for the first time tonight. Dwight Gale plays the ball left to Louis Sibley, out to the left-hand corner of the box, where it's controlled by Barkhausen, gives it back to Sibley, tries to roll it down the left-hand side of the box for Harahan, who fired it across the face of goal, and Dwight Gale, as he so often does, flying across at the near post, just couldn't connect. But a good early half chance for Derby County. Goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to get from Harahan in terms of that left-footed delivery. He's got a wonderful left foot, hasn't he? It's wonderful in terms of a forward. Everything you want is a driven ball. It's got bags of pace on it. It's probably just for Dwight Gale. Almost got a little bit too much pace on it. He doesn't seem to connect with it very well at all. But Oh, look at Dwight Gale, and you forget he's 34. He's almost evergreen, isn't he?
He is. Seems like he has been around forever. And he's got bags of experience. And I think he's a great player for League One. I still think he's potentially Championship level. He did have a spell at Stoke earlier in the season. Got 3 goals in 50 appearances for the Potters before joining Derby on a short-term contract. He looks on as Femi Aziz comes forward for Reading for the first time tonight, down the right-hand side, but he's dispossessed well by Aaron Cashin, the young Irishman, who kept his eye on the ball, stayed on his feet, got his foot in and got it clear. It's a throw to Reading, 0-0.
Yeah, he did really well there, Cashin, and you look at his stature, and at times he looks more like a rugby player. I think he's quite deceiving, though, in terms of his pace. Once he gets going, and does well to stand up with Aziz and not look at the drop of the shoulder and the movement of the body, but just keep his eye on the ball, and does well to dispossess and play forward.
0-0 here. There's a full programme in the National League tonight. Chesterfield are already a 1-0 up on Oxford City. Will Grigg, I think Chesterfield might be in League 2 next year.
Really?
Yeah. It's just a feeling in my water. What is it, 20-odd points clear? Fantastic season that Paul Cook and the Spyrites are having, laying everybody else to waste in that division. The likes of Barnet and Bromley and Solihull just having to pick up the pieces and see who gets the one playoff spot. Derby have a throw midway point of the Reading half, down the left-hand side. Early goals going in elsewhere. I'll tell you about those in a minute, as Derby are trying to work the ball down the left-hand side of the area. It's headed away by Andy Yeardom, and then Aziz tries to head it toward the halfway line for Sam Smith. And then it's well won back by Barkhausen down the left-hand side of the area. Early cross into the box again, looking for Gale, but he wasn't tall enough to get on the end of that cross from Barkhausen. It was nicely floated in, but Gale needed to be about 6'4" to get on the end of that. Ball's back inside the area and very tidily played by Tyler Bindon, one of a number of academy graduates that Reading have had to call upon because embargoes, you know. Cleared downfield. Reading try and get Sam Smith into the game, but that's Sonny Bradley, the former Luton man, comfortably clearing, and he finds the ball up to Curtis Nelson. Ball's out of play, and it's going to be a throw-in to Reading out on the far side.
It's been a very, very positive start from Derby County, hasn't it? The way that they get in wide areas and fling balls in, and I think you see why Dwight Gale is enjoying his time here, because they play to his strengths. And you mentioned that ball, it's slightly too high. The cross has got a good leap on him, but not that good. But it's a high tempo start from Derby.
Here's Nathaniel Mendes-Lang going through the centre, works it into Sibley, left hand side of the area, fires it over the bar. Real venom behind the strike from Louis Sibley, but he couldn't keep it down. I think Pereira had it covered, but Derby are already showing their hand early on. It's 0-0. We played 4.5 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't mind that at all in terms of taking the shot on. I think if anything, Sibley has touched, just let him down ever so slightly, because I think when that ball comes into you, you want to take your first touch that's driving you more towards the goal into the box, and I think it just takes him straight more than anything, and then he has to reset himself to try and get the shot off. And again, because he's not done that, he can't get it across the goalkeeper. It's more flat, but it's a really good starter, and it was a great ball from Mendes-Lang, by the way.
Already well over 160 appearances for Louis Sibley in a Derby County shirt. Pretty sure he got a hat-trick when he first broke onto the scene down at Millwall. 22 years of age now. Goals elsewhere. Lincoln lead Cambridge in League One by a goal to nil. Jack Moylan for Lincoln, 11 unbeaten, doing quite brilliantly. And the Michael Skubala and Forest Green are in front at Bradford in League Two. Christian Deutsch back at the New Lawn and back amongst the goals. They beat Walsall on Saturday. Could Steve Cottrell possibly be working the oracle and getting Forest Green out of the brown stuff just at the right time? They lead them at Valley Parade. No goals anywhere else. 0-0 here at Pride Park. 5.5 gone on Talksport 2. Reading have a free kick just over the halfway line. They're looking to get Femi Aziz in behind, right hand side of the area. He'll get to the byline, but the ball just bounced awkwardly, hooks it up in the air, and it actually ended up being a comfortable claim for Joe Wildsmith in the Derby goal. 0-0.
I mean, most of the pitch looks good, but it's probably hit just the most awkward spot. There's a bit of a patch to the right-hand side of the Derby goal that's more mud than grass, and as you mentioned, it hits that, it pops up awkwardly, and Aziz can't then get the control on it to get the ball across with any purpose. It flings up in the air.
Shrewsbury playing Exeter tonight. That's 17th against 16th. Shrews down to 10 men already. Jordan Shipley with an early straight red card for the Shrews. Derby in possession inside the Reading half at 0-0. Ibu Adams out to the right-hand side And it's brought in field by Mendes-Lang. Now it's worked across to Cashin, who's moved inside the Reading half. Out to the left wing for Louis Sibley. Aziz and Yedon watching it. Sibley checks the ball onto his right, sends the cross in, and Bengay got the ball half clear, and then Reading complete the clearance up to halfway. Derby have a throw, but the home side and the home support encouraged by what they've seen so far. Courtney, Sweetman-Kirk, 0-0.
Yeah, and just at the start of that play, love the run by Barkhausen. He comes from deep, he comes across from the right-hand side, makes the run centrally, starts to then push the Reading back line back, and then it just creates a space for them to play. Cashin pushes up. Sibley does well on he's obviously left-footed, in the fact that he acts like he's going to swing it in. He doesn't. He brings it back onto his right foot. It's not the best of deliveries in the end, but it's a very good start from Derby County. They just probably want a few more opportunities to count for the possession that they've had.
Mendes-Lang swings a ball all the way over from this side of the pitch, the left to the far right, but the defender, Joe Ward, had to track back good 25 yards to pick it up. And Derby have it on halfway. It's Barkhausen, very calmly lays it back to Curtis Nelson. Joe Ward wants a Peterborough, just lobs it down the inside right channel. Adams makes a great run into the box, and he fired it goalwards, and it bounced off the chest of Mola. And Reading only get it half clear, but now Aziz hairs after the ball, but Cashin there again for Derby. Plays it down the left-hand side. Sibley is beaten to the ball by Yeardham. Referee Breakspear waves play on. Saw nothing wrong with the challenge from Yeardham to get it half clear, but Derby have it back on the far side. They're right. Joe Ward can't get away from Ben Elliott. It's a throw to the Rams, and a few boos ringing around the stadium for that challenge on Sibley, but look 50-50 to me, Courtney, Sweetman-Kirk. 0-0.
I'm not sure if the referee was actually playing the advantage, and as you'd imagine, Conor Hourihane, especially with his delivery, is making the argument that we'd probably rather have the free kick.
Long throw coming into the box for Derby County. Cashin's belatedly jogging towards the edge of the area to add a bit of physical presence in there. Whipped in by Joel Ward, flicked on by Bradley, but Aziz can clear for Reading, but there's nobody in a purple Reading shirt on halfway, so Adams has all the time in the world to roll it back to his keeper. Aldershot 0, Ebbsfleet 1 in the National League. Toby Edser and Altrincham lead York by an own goal to 0. Now down has gone Dwight Gale under pressure from a Reading defender. The shouts of off with the covering defenders. Charles Breakspear issues a yellow card to Tyler Bindon. Just a simple ball over the top. About 25 yards out the offence took place. Fair enough for you, Courtney?
Yeah,
yellow card?
Completely right decision. I don't think he actually means to touch Gale in that sense, but I think it's one of those awkward ones where he's running so close to him, he clips the back of his ankles. It's certainly a foul, a yellow card, but I think the referee's right there in terms of there were covering defenders that would have had the time and the ability to get across and make the challenge on Gale.
And so it's a free kick for Derby to the right of centre, a good 35 yards out, and there's a number of interested parties who fancy having a crack at goal with this one. Dwight Gale is in there, so too is Joe Ward. You can see those two standing over it. And there's a Reading wall that has been assembled just inside the 18-yard line, and there's some poor soul who's acting as the draft excluder behind the wall. If they asked you to do that, would you have done that, Courtney?
I mean, yeah, of course you have to, but it's definitely one of the jobs that you look up on the set pieces when you get given the iPad and you think, I don't want that job.
Free kick then to Derby. Hourihane is also there. He might hit this left-footed, but it's been left for Joe Ward. Right-footed, great save. Pereira plunging away to his left-hand side. Made a terrific stop at his far post. It's his league debut tonight. He's hurt himself because of the follow-up, but a great initial save from the Portuguese to keep Reading level. Great free kick from Ward, but it's kept out, 0-0.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Ward does so well to wrap it round the wall, and it has enough curl on it, so it's coming back towards the goal. It looks like it's going to go on the inside of the right-hand post, but as you say, Pereira absolutely flies across his goal, and the save for me is made better because it's coming through so many bodies. He must have been unsighted, but as you say, it's a shame for him now because he looks in some bother, but it's a really good save.
Yeah, he's only in the side because David Button is out with an unspecified illness, the normal Reading goalkeeper. He's getting treatment now. Also, Mola's just moving a bit awkwardly over on the far side of the field. Meanwhile, some goals have gone in elsewhere in the EFL. Carlisle, rock bottom of this division, League One. They are ahead against Barnsley by a goal to nil. Luke Armstrong up in Cumbria. And Tranmere are 1-0 up on League Two leaders Mansfield at Prenton Park. Regan Hendry for Tranmere. And elsewhere in League Two, Aaron Wildig's just given Newport the lead against Morecambe at Rodney Parade. Newport in 13th, Morecambe 10th. Both, I guess, with kind of outside chances of getting involved in the playoff pack. Whilst Pereira's continuing to get treatment, both Ruben Sellers and Paul Warne coaching a few, although certainly Ruben Sellers has got far more players around him than Paul Warne has, as he puts out some instructions.
Yeah, I think for Paul Warne, he'll be extremely happy with the start that his side has had. They've been aggressive, progressive going forward as well. Great opportunity with a free kick, a shot on target. I think Sibley should do better with the opportunity down the left-hand side of the box. He's got to hit the target there. So we're just ticking into the 13th minute. With 30 minutes gone, he'll be very happy. The only thing he'll want more of is the opportunities and the shots on target.
It will be eventually a free kick or a goal kick for Reading away to our left-hand side. You're listening to Talksport 2. You're home with the EFL. And eventually Mbenge just rolls the ball back casually to Joel Pereira, who's just checking with the assistant, where do I take the free kick from? And you can already hear the home fans thinking, this is housery. This is time-wasting 101 from Reading. And eventually Pereira is ready to strike the ball downfield, right-footed. It'll land just over the halfway line. Sam Smith is beaten to it strongly by Sonny Bradley. And Mbenge does really well to hook the ball up to halfway. Drilled downfield, looking by Lewis Wing for either Nibbs or Smith, but he couldn't find either of them. And Derby win it back, and Ward sends the ball infield. Lovely touch from Barkhausen. Touched infield looking for Harahan by Gale, but that just ran straight to Femi Aziz, who's clattered into by Gale. And that's a free kick to Reading inside their own half. 14 minutes gone nearly here at Pride Park on Talksport 2. It's Derby County 0, Reading 0.
Well, I know it's a foul, but look at that. 34 years old from Dwight Gale, and the fact that he's sprinting back for his team to try and get the ball back, as I say, in terms of the execution, wasn't great, but it shows what Paul Warner's, the expectation to work hard for this team and why they are where they are at the minute in League One.
Drilled downfield by Pereira. Smith looking for a flick on for Reading, but Cash in there strongly. In it goes into Charlie Savage, who's got the curtains, much like his dear old dad used to have when he was playing. Worked out to the left-hand side. A chance for Mola to get away for a moment for Reading. Lays it off to Savage, who's on that left-hand touch line. Elliott now picks it up, former Chelsea Academy graduate Ben Elliott. Reading are forced to work the ball back to the halfway line, but it's neatly played across to Amadou Mbenge. Savage again in the centre circle, gives it back to Mbenge. Now Lewis Wing takes over, just chips it down the right-hand side looking for Aziz, but Cashin has been dealing with all those aerial passes sent down that side so far for Derby. He does so again. But Reading have it back. Yeardom nods it down for Aziz. Oh, lovely little flick to get Yeardom in, right-hand side, but back came Sibley to toe poke it out of play for a Reading throw, level with the Derby penalty area, as Reading are attacking the south stand end to our right in this first half on Talksport 2. Thrown in for Femi Aziz. Lovely ball in from Aziz. Keeper went up and got something just ahead of Sam Smith. Clearance to the edge of the area. It's hooked up and high, and it's going to go out for a throw, is it? It is, off Nathaniel Mendes-Lang.
Keeper does well there. I like the fact that even though under pressure with Smith, how many times you see keepers either retreat or go into the challenge and basically fall on the floor, but no, strong, nice, gets two big hands to it for the punch and make sure he gets out to safety.
Yeah, Joe Wildsmith got there just ahead of his man. Long ball downfield, asking Barkhausen to give chase, and Dwight Gale. But Pereira, who seems to have got over the injury he picked up in making that brilliant save from Ward's free kick. But his clearance, as you could hear from the haze around us, drifted straight out of play in between the two technical areas, just down to our left here at Pride Park. And it's a throw to Derby on halfway. Massive game coming up here at the weekend against Bolton. That's poorly given away from the throw from Cashin. He was looking for Curtis Nelson, but it's just dropped in the centre of the half for Sam Smith, who just fancied clattering it goalwards. Actually hit it straight at Curtis Nelson in the end. And he caught it in the unmentionables, I think.
Yeah, it's a strange decision as well from Cashin. And you mentioned down that left-hand side, it had been really good so far. He's not the tallest, but his aerial presence, his reading of the game, playing forward had been really good. But that was a really strange decision that nearly put his team in danger.
He's got a few goals this season as well, Aaron Cashin. 3 in the league for Derby. Republic of Ireland under 21. It's another young Derby player who's made well over 100 appearances despite his tender age. Now it's Wildsmith with a wild clearance out to the right-hand side. Bit of irritation around Pride Park as Reading are presented with a throw midway point of the Derby half on the left-hand side. Mola gets it back into play. And Bindon, who's received that yellow card earlier for that challenge on Dwight Gale, gets it back to Pereira, his keeper. Now it's Yiadom, the Reading captain. Scampers up to halfway, can't get past Barkhausen, so lays it off to wing. And then Mbenge gets it back to his keeper. What did I say before kickoff? Riley McGree would score for Middlesbrough against Birmingham. It's exactly what's happened.
There you go.
Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1. The former Birmingham midfielder, the Aussie, Riley McGree with a goal at St Andrews. Here's Dwight Gale for Derby at 0-0. Working it out to the right-hand corner of the box. It's teased into the area by Adams, but a bit of space for Yiadom to bring the ball clear here for Reading, and they've got a few numbers forward. Great challenge from Cashin. I thought he'd lost out at first, but he got his foot in really well for Derby, and they're going to try and launch a counter-attack. Mendes Lang is dispossessed by Mbenge, but Harahan on the scene to tidy up. Newport double their lead at home to Morecambe in League 2. Adam Lewis. And the ball's back with Derby's 3 centre-halves. And Nelson works the ball out to Joe Ward on the right-hand side. Here's Curtis Nelson. Finding Gale, who was trying to release Barkhausen through the middle. It's quite a fluid front three that Derby have in this 3-4-3, Courtney, with Barkhausen and Gale and Mendes Lang, quite interchangeable at times.
Yeah, and I think, you know, everyone has different philosophies and way that they like to play, but I always like being part of a front three that was quite fluid, and you knew if you made the run that your teammates had replaced the space, you could go out in different areas. And it's, for me, it's always harder for the back four or, you know, whatever back line you're playing against to pick you up. And like Barkhausen scored a good goal at the weekend on the edge of the box, the way that he arrived, and the little dummy for Wagon's goal as well. I like that a lot.
Rochdale 0, Woking 1 in the National League. Charlie Kendall for the Cards. I think they're getting themselves out of trouble, Woking, the way they're playing. They lead at Spotland. Let's get to St Andrews and find out. I knew it. I'd said, Dave Rowe, that Riley McGree would score, and he did.
He has done, Dance. Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1. He scored an absolute screamer from just outside the area. Well won by Ayling in midfield. And McGree has taken it on his left foot, and he's picked out the top corner in some style. More trouble for Blues is that Mark Roberts has gone off injured. Of course, Dion Sanderson is still suspended. Cody Drammer is on. But a great goal by McGree. Birmingham 0, Borough 1.
Just quickly, Dave, did he celebrate?
No, he didn't, Dance. In fact, the whole stadium went very, very quiet indeed. He put one arm outstretched, but no celebration. Fair
enough, thanks, Dave. Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1 then. That's the one game in the Championship tonight. We're in League 1 at Pride Park. We've played 19 minutes, in fact 20 minutes now up. Derby 0, Reading 0. Here come the Royals down the right-hand side with Aziz. He's got the beating of Cash, and this time flashes the cross over the head of Smith. Elliott goes out to the left-hand side to retrieve possession and keep it in play. Works the ball infield. Lewis Wings can have a go for goal, and he likes a long-range strike, and that one dips just a little too late for Wing over the crossbar. Ends up being a Derby County goal kick away to our right-hand side, 0-0.
Yeah, it started to dip, didn't it? And it looked for a second that it was just going to dip into that top right-hand corner. It didn't at the end, but interesting earlier on in that play, Aziz, the way that he gets to the byline, gets the ball in, it's overcooked, but it's the first time I've seen him really stand Cashing up and beat him, so that should give him a little bit of confidence going forward.
There's a delay here. There's players being asked to come over and get some coaching because Femi Aziz needs a bit of help with his footwear. Meanwhile, Wickham lead Wigan by a goal to 0. Sam Tickle, the wonderfully named Sam Tickle, has given Wickham the lead with an own goal. And Crawley 0, Notts County 1. County have lost 6 out of their last 7. They lead down in Sussex. Sam Austin with the opener for Notts County. Now, I don't know why this break in play is happening.
Is it a Ramadan break?
Of course, you're right. We are in the festival of Ramadan, so yes. Any fixture that kicks off after 3 p.m, where it is there for an evening kick-off, they do take breaks. Absolutely right, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Bang on the money.
Good knowledge.
So they've had that break, and another chance for an impromptu coaching session. This time, a load more Derby players came over to see Paul Warne than the previous time, when only a couple ventured over to get the words of wisdom from their manager. Derby's second year in League One. Let's not forget 7th last year. Nearly out of business 2 years ago before David Close paid, the thick end of £15 million in July of 2022 to get the club. And things have improved immeasurably for Derby County on and off the field since then. But they did miss out on the playoffs on the last day of last season. And we were there on Talksport too when it all went sadly wrong for them at Hillsborough. And Sheffield Wednesday ended up winning promotion in that playoff final.
A few months ago, they looked dead and buried and looked like they were heading straight back for League One as well, but that's changed.
Now here's Derby coming forward as a goal kick sent downfield, and Bengay almost lost his footing, and in fact the last touch came off a Derby player. Mendes Lang was the last player to touch it. Looked a bit hairy then for Reading at the back. It was just a simple long ball downfield from Derby, had them at 6s and 7s, 0-0.
Yeah, it did almost like the situation where Bindon got the yellow card, and if that's me and I'm a forward playing against them, I'm saying to the players behind me, get the ball, get it on Bindon's side, let me run, let me put him in a position where he's got to make a decision.
Derby County 0, Reading 0. Midway point of the first half on Talksport 2. Ian Danter and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk with you on this Tuesday evening. They're underway over on Talksport at the Emirates in the Champions League. Arsenal against Porto. Remember, Porto won up from the first leg of the Dragao. We'll keep you updated here on Talksport 2. Any goals in the Champions League, Championship, League 1, League 2 and National League. Free kick to Derby as Adams was brought down just past the centre circle. Lincoln have doubled their lead in League 1 against Cambridge. Jack Moylan with his and Lincoln's second of the night. You're listening to Derby 0, Reading 0 in the EFL League 1 live on Talksport 2 with McDonald's. Order McDelivery on the McDonald's app and get tasty rewards points. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. I've got Courtney Sweetman-Kirk alongside me tonight.
Yeah, and I'm just think those little breaks have maybe just halted the momentum for Derby. They've not been as free-flowing, as dynamic going forward, but this is a good opportunity to get the ball in the box now. Ward
sends the cross in, but it's a good claim by Pereira under no real pressure. Bradley was the player closest to him for Derby, but very comfortable claim for the Portuguese keeper, who, I should remind you, in case you're tuning in late, making his league debut for Reading tonight, Joel Pereira. It's not like he's a babe in arms. He's 27, and he has come through the Manchester United Academy, but there could be a few nerves. But those nerves were settled with a brilliant save from a Joel Ward free kick. Derby have it with Louis Sibley down the left-hand side. Oh, that's good work from Mendes Lang. Getting into the edge of the area, drives it in, and Dwight Gale tried to divert the ball goal, but he was offside. Wouldn't have counted had he managed to somehow divert it past Pereira, and Reading get play restarted fairly quickly, 0-0.
Yeah, but that's what we need to see more of again, whether it be Sibley, whether it be Mendes Lang when he pulls out to that left-hand side and wants to cut in on his right. They've got to do more of that, Derby, and ask more questions of that Reading defence.
Here's Andy Eardon for Reading. One of the longest-serving players of the club, if not the longest, been at the club since 2018. Wins a throw, but then immediately Nibs can't get the ball out to Sam Smith, and it just drifts out of play on this near side for a Derby throw instead that Aaron Cashin will take. Bradley wants the ball sent back to him so he can just hoof it forward. And Cashin taking his time to get the ball back into play, looking for an option, I think. Mendes Lang showing down the line, and he's a good physical specimen, Mendes Lang. Tall man, but he's gone over his head, bounces on the halfway line, but Sibley's beaten to it by Mbenge. And then it comes off and Benge's back, and that works into Dwight Gale's favour. Sibley goes down under pressure from Wing, but Wing won the ball cleanly. Hits a long ball over the top, trying to get Smith in behind. Oh, great interception. Curtis Nelson in the nick of time. That ball very nearly split the Derby defence apart, but Nelson got a vital touch as Smith looked like he was running through. Now the other end, towards the north stand, then Derby are coming forward. Barkhausen, level with the edge of the area, left-hand side. Works it in field to Mendes-Lang. Across to Adams, tries a first-time strike, and it smacks into Clinton Mola, who's gone down like he's been hit with a sniper bullet, and he's going to need treatment, and that doesn't please the locals. But it was a fierce old hit from the Gambian Ebu Adams, 0-0.
Yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic strike. And it hits him full on the face, I think. So in terms of the referee has no choice. Probably, I'm surprised the referee didn't stop it earlier, to be honest. But in that position, it's a head injury. The referee has no choice. I think the Derby fans are maybe taking a little bit of an exception, because initially he stands up and sort of takes the ball to the face and then almost theatrically goes down a little bit after. Maybe knew what he was doing there, in the sense that knows it has to be stopped for a head injury.
Well, the boo's ringing around Pride Park because it's another delay, it's another break to any sort of head of steam that Derby have been trying to get up during the course of this first half. 27 minutes gone. There'll be a fair old chunk of added time at the end of this first period here on Talksport 2. Southend, meantime, lead Dorking in the National League. Gus Scott Morris for the Shrimpers at Roots Hall. It is still 0-0 in the Champions League at the Emirates Stadium, I can tell you. That's live on Talksport between Arsenal and Porto. Elsewhere, Carlisle 1-0 up on Barnsley, Lincoln 2-0 up on Cambridge, Wickham 1-0 up on Wigan. Everywhere else is goalless in the Championship. Middlesbrough 1-0 up at Birmingham. Games with goals in League 2. Forest Green 1-up at Bradford. Notts County 1-up at Crawley. Newport 2-0 up over Morecambe. Tranmere 1-0 up over the leaders Mansfield. Everywhere else is goalless. And in the other Champions League tie, it's still Barcelona 0, Napoli 0. That's 1-1 from the first leg in Naples. You're up to date on Talksport 2. Ian Danter and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk with you this Tuesday night. Ball sent into the boxes. Derby try and get the ball towards the 6-yard line, but it's cleared away by Tyler Binden and then hooked up in the air by Yeardom. Barcelona, as soon as I say that, they've just taken the lead against Napoli. Fermin Lopez makes it Barcelona 1, Napoli 0. 2-1 on aggregate to Barcelona. Mendes-Lang for Derby. Lovely ball over the top, trying to get Barkhausen in behind. Out comes the keeper. Good starting position for Joel Pereira, caught it on the bounce. That was almost a brilliant ball from Mendes-Lang.
Yeah, the run as well was fantastic. See Barkhausen, he initially makes the run, he stops. He sort of backpedals and brings himself back on side, and I think it's just the bounce that gets away from him. If he can get that before it bounces, it's better off for him, but he's stretching, he can't get to it, he lets it bounce, and then the ball runs away from him. But it's I think Barkhausen, for me, has looked so bright and is probably the most likely for Derby County at the moment.
More live football for you tomorrow night from the Premier League and the Champions League. Bournemouth-Luton, not on the telly tomorrow night. That was the game that was, of course, abandoned after the horrific scenes around Tom Lockyer, who will be there at the Vitality tomorrow night and will get one hell of a welcome. He's become a father again in recent weeks, Tom.
Incredible.
So what a strange old time it's been for him. I'm so pleased he's getting back to full fitness. Adrian Durham will be there. Sam Matterface and Scott Minto, your commentary team for Bournemouth against Luton. It's a 7:30 kickoff, just to mark your card. Here on Talksport 2, Jim Proudfoot and Darren Ambrose will guide you through Dortmund against PSV in the second leg of the Champions League round of 16. And then we've got a bit of Europa League on Thursday. West Ham went 1-0 down late on in Freiburg. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk nodding her head sagely at that one. Ball given away. Derby have it back at the edge of the area. Barkhausen drives it straight at the goalkeeper, who pushes it away well. Another good save from Joel Pereira, but Derby have it again. Left-hand corner of the box, Mendes-Lang chipping it into the box. And that's going to be a yellow card for a handball right at the edge of the area, not inside the box, by Andy Yeardom. And Derby have a free kick left-hand corner of the penalty area. It's still 0-0 though.
Well, that strike, it was very similar to the last goal that Barkhausen scored. I mentioned it earlier in terms of the arrival at the edge of the box, hitting it side foot, first time trying to guide it towards goal. But that one, it was just too close to the keeper, Pereira, who makes a good save in the end.
Well, we're right in line with where Derby are spotting this free kick down as we look towards the north stand to our left-hand side. There's, again, 3 Derby players around it. Harahan, Ward, and also Mendes-Lang. Barcelona have got a second, incidentally, against Napoli. Now, João Cancelo making it 3-1 on aggregate to Barca. And Newport 2, Morecambe 1. Guion Edwards gets one back for Morecambe. And Barnsley have equalised at Carlisle, the bottom side of League One. Barnsley started the night in 5th, and Jordan Williams has equalised for the Tykes. So Derby looking to close the gap on the leaders Portsmouth, who are currently 0-0 in their game against Burton Albion. But it's a free kick to Derby by the left-hand corner of the area. Harahan lofts it to the far post, headed off the post. Cashin, it was flying in, I think. Headed it straight against the post, and Reading survive. 0-0.
Flying's right, Dan. The way he was flying through the air there was incredible, through absolutely everything at it, Cashin, and nothing else could do really. Is stretching every sinew to get to that fantastic whip ball by Hurahan's left foot, but just absolutely cannons back off the post.
Well, Reading are still level. They've had their goalkeeper make 2 terrific saves on his league debut, and now the woodwork has come to their aid to deny Aaron Cashin a flying header, which would have put Derby ahead here with 33 minutes played on Talksport 2. Grimsby lead MK Dons in League 2 by a goal to 0. 4 unbeaten, the Mariners, and Justin Abikwa's put them ahead against MK, who are very much in the playoff hunt, if not automatic promotion hunt. And Kidderminster 0, AFC Fylde 1 in the National League. 0-0 here. Rams have a throw on halfway with the aforementioned Aaron Cashin. Bolton have just taken the lead against Oxford. Bolton are the team just below Derby in the table, and that's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Nathaniel Ogbeta has given Bolton the lead against Oxford. So that changes things a little around the top of the table, with Bolton going ahead. Every goal means something at this stage of the season in the EFL. It's incredibly tight. Bolton are up into second as things stand. So Derby, if they can't do anything about this scoreline and Bolton hang on for the win, they'd switch places again. Ball hooked high up in the air. Mola wins it back for Derby. Wing was under pressure from Gale, but still managed to get it back to Bindon. Cleared downfield up to the halfway line, but Cash in there again, very calm, header down. And then Aziz just barged into the back of Louis Sibley. Easy free kick for Charles Breakspear to give there, as AFC Wimbledon go 1-0 up on Gillingham. Omar Bugil for the Dons. That's 8th against 7th in League 2. Ball's back on halfway. Curtis Nelson for Derby County. Looks for Joe Ward out on the right-hand side. Early cross into the box, was looking for Gale. Only half cleared by Bindon. The shot came in from Adams. Hit Bindon again on the thigh. And Reading clear up to halfway, but Smith won't win that. Again, it's Curtis Nelson on the scene first. Plays the ball in field. It breaks for Conor Harahan. Such experience he brings to the Derby County midfield. Out it goes to Mendes-Lang, left-hand side. Level with the edge of the area. Sibley on the overlap, but he's not going to use him. Instead, he clips it down the left-hand side of the box for Barkhausen, who tries to loft it to the far post. Headed behind for what is Derby's first corner of the game. Bindon at the near post to put it behind. 0-0.
Yeah, brilliant by Mendes-Lang there, and I think it's helped by the run, the overlap by Louis Sibley. Doesn't run down a blind alley, Mendes-Lang. Just waits for his teammate to open up the space. Then that little reverse ball into, I think it was Barkhausen, wasn't it? It's a fantastic late run.
Corner at the north stand end where it meets the west stand here. Right-footed in-swinger to come from Joel Ward. From Joel Ward. Deep to the far post, looking for the header of Bradley. And it's gone out off a Reading player. I think it was Mola that got the final touch. And that's out of play for another Derby corner. Bradley's come off worse from that 50-50 header. But the corner will be Derby's, but it's over on the other side of the field now in the northeast corner, 0-0.
Yeah, and it's slowly getting to his feet, isn't he? I just think it's the coming together of both players going for the header there.
Well, we don't have the benefit of replays here at Pride Park. But Bradley is okay, doesn't need any treatment, and he's just jogging across to the far post. So looks like Sibley's going to send this corner in. Mendes-Lang is there for a short corner if he wants to use him, Sibley, but it's going to be a left-footed in-swinger to the near post. It's headed almost across the face of goal. It's pinball around the 6-yard box, and eventually Yiadom just puts his right foot through it and gets it clear. Whipped back into the box, but too high for anybody in a white shirt. And it goes behind for a Reading goal kick. Few high fives in the back four of Reading as they survive another scare, and that did look a bit scary for the Royals for the moment, but it stays 0-0 on Talksport 2. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
Yeah, the initial, that pinball in there, and Reading do well to get it away, but I think Derby should be disappointed with the second phase. I think it's a good ball in from Mendes-Lang, and you can see it's all he can do. Someone needs to be locking off that back post area, whether it's to nod it towards goal or nod it back across, but they just didn't get their angles of the players in the correct areas right there.
Pereira really taking his time over the goal kick, but he gets it clear. Lance in the centre circle. Savage goes up with Barkhausen, gets there again, tries to lob it down the centre of the pitch to try and get Nibs in behind, but it's nodded back well by Bradley to his keeper. Mansfield, the leaders of League Two, are level at Tranmere now. It's 1-1. Will Swan and Walsall, after that surprise defeat at Forest Green at the weekend, they are 1-0 up on Barrow. Rolin Menayese, I hope I've said that right, has given the Sadlers the lead, whose manager is, of course, Matt Sadler. Just born to be the Walsall boss, wasn't he?
Exactly.
Offside up against Dwight Gale, left-hand side. He can't believe he's been given offside by the assistant. But that's what's happened. The flag's gone up. Reading have a free kick in their right-back position. And Ruben Selles will be delighted with this. If he can see this out to half-time, the Reading manager, Courtney, with a 0-0 scoreline, Reading desperate for points for very different reasons to Derby County.
Yeah, he'll be happy with the fact that they've stayed on level terms, especially the amount of possession and chances that Derby County have created. But I think they know if they keep on level terms, they've got a player in Smith that can score goals. So when you've got a player like Sam Smith that you're confident in, that you know if you give him an opportunity is going to score a goal, you're quite happy to try and keep it on level terms as long as possible and try and nick a goal.
Nibs has got his fair share as well of goals this season. Gillingham's task at AFC Wimbledon has just got worse. Connor Masterson scored at the weekend, but he's just been given a second yellow card. 2 lemons make a strawberry. He's off. Gillingham down to 10 at Plough Lane. AFC Wimbledon 1-0 up and now a man up. Now here's a chance for Ben Elliott for Reading, who picks the ball up in the centre of the Derby County half. He's then faced up by Adams, has to work the ball back to Charlie Savage on halfway, and then in the end Bindon has to go back to his keeper. It was good pressing from Derby County. Savage picks the ball up again, has to give the ball back to his keeper Pereira, who takes the ball onto his left foot and will clear downfield, but it won't find Sam Smith. It's comfortably chested down by Nelson, and Nelson fires it out to the right hand side and Ward, but Ward's ball in field does not work out for Derby County, and Lewis Wing showing good industry but working back into his own half, and again he's got to go back to his keeper. Derby not giving any of those Reading midfielders an inch of space in which to operate. 0-0.
No, and it's lucky though, because that comes from a poor throw-in yet again. The first one was Cashin throwing it into midfield. This one, it's into the White Gale. He's trying to hook it over his shoulder, and a crossfield ball that gets cut out. And I think that's one of the pet peeves sometimes with players in terms of being poor from throw-ins. They don't always treat it as another set piece, and we've seen it twice here now.
Little flick in field might get Harvey Nibs away here for Reading, but that's well dealt with by Curtis Nelson, coming back and clipping it back to his goalkeeper. Shout of man on as Ibu Adams received it midway point of his own half. It's played up over halfway. Good foot in from Yiadom, not once but twice for Reading. Now he's trying to get Aziz away with the ball with the outside of his boot, but again, there to intercept is Cashin for Derby County. Now Mendes-Lang released down the left wing. Across comes Mbenge. What a challenge.
Brilliant.
Not in just to slide in, but to prevent the ball going out for a throw and to clear his lines. Fantastic.
Yeah, the timing was absolutely excellent. The fact that he's got to get the ball, obviously not to foul Mendes-Lang, but then the fact that he doesn't just go out of play, he manages to get up, and that composure, you see that sometimes where they win the ball and then they just pump it upfield, but No, it's the fact that Mbenge has kept calm and he's found a teammate as well. Absolutely brilliant.
Aziz and Cashin go up for the same ball. And it's gone out of play for a Derby throw in their left-back position. 10-man Shrewsbury 0, Exeter 2. Luke Harris and Bolton have got a second against Oxford in that 8 o'clock kickoff. Josh Dacres-Cogley's made it Bolton 2, Oxford 0. So Bolton, as things stand, going back above Derby County into the automatic spots. But a Derby goal will change all of that. And here's Ibu Adams, lovely ball, cushion ball with the outside of his right boot to move it inside the Reading half for Joel Ward. Ward goes again for an Adams pass, but this is overhit and out of play for a Reading goal kick. But at least the effort is appreciated by the locals. 0-0.
Yeah, and I think it's the right idea. Obviously, the execution on the final ball, there's too much on it. But I think Derby County spent a lot of time playing down this left-hand side with Mendes Lang, with Sibley, and there's a lot of space because what they've done is they've attracted Reading over to that Derby left-hand side, and there's so much space if they can execute the ball. But so far, they've almost played where the bodies are. So the next thing is, for me, get it out to midfield, get it into Horahan, because you know he's got the quality to switch it. And it's the right idea because there's acres of space.
That's the voice of Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, former Sheffield United and Liverpool women's striker. Alongside me, Ian Danter here at Pride Park, your home of the EFL, Talksport 2. 9 games to go. Well, 8.5 games to go, really, as we approach half-time. And Derby, who've been pushing and probing and prodding and trying to find a way through, remain goalless with Reading, but they've won a free kick here with 2 minutes of the first half remaining. Midway point of the Reading half, and it's only about 5 or 6 yards in from this near touchline, with Derby attacking the north stand away to our left in this first half. Horahan, the captain, is going to take it. Reading holding their line just ahead of the 18-yard box. And Horahan just rolling the ball into a better position for him to strike it, left-footed. Into the near post, hits the first defender, Femi Aziz, comes out to Barkhouse and tries to nod it into the area. Cashin helps it on. Bradley's giving chase, manages to keep the ball in play by hooking it in. Another fierce drive from Ibu Adams, and it hits Clinton Mola again. He struck him with a shot about 10 minutes ago. This time Mola stays on his feet. Pulls out a play for a Derby throw. 0-0, it stays on Talksport 2.
And they've done well, really, Derby, to make something out of that, because by Horahan's standards, it was a really poor ball and it didn't beat the first player. But we know that they've also got the long throw, Derby, to their arsenal, so anything really within the Reading half is a really good opportunity to get the ball in the box.
Joel Ward slings the throw in from the right-hand side for Derby. Reading trying to clear their lines, and they will. Elliott brings it away. Great challenge, but it will break on halfway for Nibs. Will it? No, across came Louis Sibley, who was back defending on the halfway line for the Rams. And then a foul on Conor Horahan gives Derby a free kick. And Ruben Sellers is apoplectic that decision was given against his team. He comes way out of his technical area.
He's not happy, is he? I was just going to say. Sibley's done really well, especially when Derby have gone forward. They've committed players, whether it be the corner or the long throw, and they've committed their defenders forward. He's been very good at just anticipating where the ball's going to drop and also using his pace just to get Derby County out of trouble.
Barcelona 2, Napoli 1. Romani gets a goal back for Napoli. It's 3-2 on aggregate now to Barca. Remember, away goals do not count double anymore in European football. And it's still Arsenal 0, Porto 0 on the night as we go into 5 minutes of minimum stoppage time at the end of the first half. We suspected there'd be a fair old chunk. In comes a free kick from Horahan into the area, not up in the air by Bradley. And the goalkeeper, Pereira, can watch that ball onto the roof of his net, and it'll be a Reading goal kick away to our left-hand side. Reading, most successful tackles and fouls in League One this season. They put themselves about. May not be a great deal of flair, but they don't die wandering, trying to get themselves out of spots of bother. And they have won a couple of their recent, 2 wins in their last 6, 3 defeats, yes, but a draw in there as well. But they're yet to get back-to-back away wins this season, and they did win last time out on the road 3-1 at Carlisle United.
Well, those stats to me show that Ruben Sellers has got this side together despite everything that's going on outside. It's almost a little bit of a siege mentality.
The tackle foul stats, yeah.
Yeah, they work together, and So you don't get stats like that unless you want to put yourself on the line for your teammates.
Free kick given Derby's way for a push in the centre circle. We've played a minute and a half of the minimum 5 that's been added on. A few half-times starting to filter through. I'll give you a full half-time classified check during our half-time interval here at Pride Park. But there's a fair old smattering of games around the EFL tonight. Just one in the Championship, almost a full programme in Leagues 1 and 2, and a full programme in the National League. Wildsmith with the free kick for Derby, downfield, but there's a push on a Reading player this time, and Sonny Bradley's the guilty party. And so Reading get a free kick, and I guess what the Reading fans will be delighted about is the noise, or the lack of noise, Courtney, that you hear around Pride Park at the moment.
Yeah, and that's testament to their team. Look, it's not always been pretty, but whether it be Pereira hurting himself in the process when he made that fantastic save from the free kick and putting his body on the line for the follow-up, or whether it's been the defenders. Mola's he took a couple to the face, hasn't he? So, as we've mentioned with Reading, there's no way a lack of willingness to put their body on the line. It's just now a bit showing that bit of quality going forward.
Now a little fired ball downfield trying to get Dwight Gale away, but Bindon actually heads it really well. But the ball was dropping out the sky and he was trying to guide it down to a teammate. He found Mola. Elliott works the ball neatly into midfield. Lewis Wing gets his head up. Smith making a run through the middle, but it's been shoveled out to this near side. And Yeardom just inside the Derby half, out to the right wing. And Aziz was trying to turn it round the corner, but couldn't find his man. Cashin will have a throw as Portsmouth, the leaders of the division, take the lead against Burton right on half-time. Cassini Yengi makes it Portsmouth 1, Burton Albion 0 from the spot. Throw into Derby in their left-back position, midway point of the half. Cashin to launch it down the line, looking for Dwight Gale, but he won't win that header against Yeardom. But Mbenge can't keep it in play. And it's out of play for a Derby County throw, and we've played 3.5 minutes of added time, and there were a minimum 5 added on by Charles Breakspear. There were a couple of injuries in that first half for Mola and for the goalkeeper for Reading, Joel Pereira. And also a break, as Courtney Sweetman-Kirk rightly pointed out, for Ramadan, for those who are fasting to take a drinks break halfway through the half, which I don't think most of the punters were expecting.
No, and I suppose it is one of those. I think they're probably a little bit frustrated because they don't know what's going on. I think if it was more widely known why the break was, they probably wouldn't have been so unhappy with it.
I was half expecting something to go up on that Jumbotron screen away to our left-hand side. And the goal kick to Reading as we approach half-time. It's half-time in the Championship at St Andrews. Talksport 2's Dave Rowe.
Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1. Ronnie McGree, spectacular strike separates the side. He picked out the top corner from 20 yards in some style after good work from Luke Ayling, and really Borough should be further in front. Latte Delath denied by John Ruddy at close range, and also firing wide after being picked out from a throw-in. Matt Clark also off target from a throw. Birmingham only one real effort. Jordan James shooting wide. They've been second best in virtually every department. At the break, Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1.
Still,
it's quite mild for this time of year, isn't it, Courtney? You know, there are some silver linings.
There are.
Goodness
there
me.
Always are.
Shrewsbury 0, Exeter 3. Exeter 3-0 up on the 10 men of Shrewsbury through Jack Aitchison. And the half-time whistle goes here at Pride Park, and muted applause from home fans. Derby have failed to break through against a resolute Reading side, and when they have created big chances, the new goalkeeper, Joel Pereira, making his league debut for Reading tonight, has been equal, first of all, to a smashing free kick curled round the wall from 25 yards out from Joe Ward. And Pereira got down to his left superbly to push that away. And then there was an effort from close range from Tom Barkhausen, which could have been similar to the goal he scored on Saturday at Bristol Rovers. But Pereira there again to beat the shot out. At the other end, Reading have huffed and puffed, but neither Sam Smith nor Harvey Nibbs have really got into the game. It's all been about Derby, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, and their inability to make their pressure and territory pay.
Yeah, it has. I think there's been a couple of times where, for example, from corners, from free kicks, the deliveries haven't been to the standard that I think we expect of Derby, especially with a player like Conor Hourihane on the pitch. So that's something to be looked at. I think there's been a couple of moments where the play's been brilliant. For example, Mendez-Lang and Sibley down the left-hand side, but then Sibley at that vital moment just doesn't do enough. He doesn't hit the target. I think he panics and he skies it over the bar. So there's definitely positives to take for Derby in terms of the possession, getting in good positions, not giving up too much territory to Reading in their defensive half, but they've got to do more to create good quality opportunities and put Pereira under more pressure in that Reading goal.
And Portsmouth 1-0 up, Bolton 1-0 up, Bolton 2-0 up in actual fact in their game against Oxford. So, their destiny will not be in their own hands by the end of the evening as things stand.
No, not if it continues like this. So I think that's why it's important to try and accrue these points. Obviously, it's vital. There'll be sometimes there is a hangover. Thinking back to last season, I know it's slightly different in terms of the playoffs, but really it was still in their hands. So they'll come out. It'd be interesting to see if Paul Warne says anything in the changing rooms about the scores with those around him. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, and only he'll know with the personalities in the changing rooms whether that is something worth saying. But believe you me, if it stays like this and stays like it is everywhere else, getting towards the back end of the second half, I think those players will start to know it if they don't already. So look, there's no room to panic right now. Derby, for me, are well in control, but as we know, football is a funny old game and it only takes something peculiar, a deflection, a good set piece from Reading, and Derby are in trouble.
Courtney, thank you for the time being. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk is my co-commentator tonight. I'll bring you a full half-time classified check in just a moment. And also we'll talk a bit more about Reading and their financial uncertainty and the story that emerged in the past 24, 48 hours or so, that the owner, Dai Yong, is willing to sell their Bearwood Park training facility in order to aid cash flow. More on that in just a moment. But the half-time score on the pitch here at Pride Park is Derby County 0, Reading 0.
EFL Live on Talksport 2 with McDonald's. Bring on the ultimate dream team. The classic quarter pounder with cheese and a side of fries. Order McDelivery now on the McDonald's app and get tasty reward points delivered too. 18 plus. Rewards account required. Participating restaurants. Subject to availability. Delivery fees and terms apply.
Whether it's a better seat, a bigger room, or a free cake with your coffee, we all love an unexpected upgrade, especially if you don't have to ask. With the Hyundai Tucson Hybrid Upgrade event, you get a complimentary upgrade to premium trim when you buy before the 31st of March. Plus, you get £1,750 towards your deposit and 6.9% APR representative. The Tucson Hybrid Upgrade event. It's the dawn of a new Hyundai. Trim upgrade available for SE Connected Premium. Finance subject to status. Hyundai UK is a credit broker, not a lender. Terms apply.
That goal, that concert, that move, that feeling. It could only have happened here. Following the footsteps of legends on a tour of Wembley Stadium with exclusive access to the dressing rooms, press room and even the Royal Box. Plus, experience the journey made by the world's biggest names in football through the Players' Tunnel and onto England's most iconic sporting stage. Wembley's award-winning stadium tour kicks off every morning from 10. Book now at wembley.stadium.com/tours. It matters more at Wembley.
Imagine, it's Wednesday. 1 minute you're at the gym, you're doing it, getting those steps in, not thinking about pizza, and definitely not clock watching. Only 56 and a half more minutes left. And the next, that'll do. You're a millionaire. Lotto. Will you be next? Play on app. The National Lottery. Account terms, rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
Time for a garden spring clean. Blast away winter grime with a Karcher pressure washer and start looking forward to those longer days spent in your garden. Barbecues, alfresco dining and outdoor movie nights await. Bliss. This is what Karcher Clean feels like. Bring back the wow.
Here we go. Super hard, super tough, Super League on Talksport 2.
Absolutely magnificent.
Fast-paced, full-contact coverage of the ultimate hard-hitting rugby tournament.
And they're over the line.
Broadcasting live commentary of over 40 games across the season.
Have we got the greatest comeback in Super League history?
Including the Rivals Weekend, the Magic Weekend, and the Super League Grand Final, live from Old Trafford.
They're back into the game.
Scrum down for all the rock and roll action of Super League this season on Talksport 2. on DAB+, online, via the Talksport app, and on your smart speaker. EFL Live on Talksport 2.
We're underway on Talksport 2 at Pride Park. 9 games to go. Bottle very much required. Here's Nathaniel Mendes-Lang going through the centre, works it into Sibley, left-hand side of the area, fires it over the bar. Harahan is also there. He might hit this left-footed, but it's been left for Joe Ward. Right-footed, great save, Pereira. Harahan lobs it to the far post, heading off the post. Cashing it was flying in, I think, and Reading survive. And the half-time whistle goes here at Pride Park, and muted applause from home fans. That is the half-time score here on Talksport 2 at Pride Park. Derby County 0, Reading 0. Full second-half commentary to come on your home with the EFL with myself, Ian Danter, and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. I can tell you that in the Champions League over on Talksport right now, Arsenal have just taken the lead against Porto. That's now level on aggregate, 1 apiece. Leandro Trossard with the goal for the Gunners. Jim Proudfoot and Darren Bent, your commentary team, over on TalkSport with Adrian Durham. Let me run you through the half-times around the EFL as Courtney Sweetman-Kirk very kindly brings me a cup of tea at half-time. In the Championship, Birmingham City 0, Middlesbrough 1. In League 1, here at Pride Park, it is Derby 0, Reading 0. Elsewhere, Carlisle 1, Barnsley 1. Fleetwood 0, Bristol Rovers 0. Leyton Orient 0, Port Vale 0. Lincoln 2, Cambridge 0. Northampton 0, Blackpool 0. Portsmouth 1, Burton 0. Shrewsbury 0, Exeter 3, Shrewsbury down to 10. Wycombe 1, Wigan 0. And just coming up to half-time in the 8 o'clock kickoff at the Tough Sheet Community Stadium, Bolton 2, Oxford 0. Down in League 2, these are half-times. Wimbledon 1, Gillingham 0, Gillingham down to 10. Bradford 0, Forest Green 1. Colchester Doncaster was postponed. Crawley 0, Notts County 1. Crewe 0, Sutton 0. Grimsby 1, MK Dons 0. Newport 2, Morecambe 1. Swindon 0, Accrington 0. Tranmere 1, Mansfield 1. Walsall 1, Barrow 0. And Wrexham 0, Harrogate 0. Quick look in the National League tonight. A couple of games got called off with waterlogged pitches. Elsewhere, Aldershot 2, Ebbsfleet 1. Altrincham 3, York 0. Barnet Eastleigh was called off. Chesterfield the Leaders 1, Oxford City 0. FC Halifax against Oldham was called off. Gateshead 0, Dagenham and Redbridge 0. Kidderminster 0, AFC Fylde 1. Maidenhead Hartlepool was postponed. Rochdale 1, Woking 1. Solihull 0, Boreham Wood 0. Southend 1, Dorking 0. And Wealdstone Bromley was postponed. And elsewhere in the Champions League, I mentioned Arsenal level against Porto. It's also Barcelona 2, Napoli 1 on the night, 3-2 on aggregate to Barca. Now, Reading's owner, Di Young, I don't know whether he's here tonight to watch his team. I very much doubt it. He's rarely in the country. But he says he's willing to sell Reading's training ground to make sure they have funds to complete the season. Remember, they've already been docked 6 points for breaking financial rules this campaign. And he confirmed he was open to the sale of Bearwood Park should an appropriate offer be received. Paul Mann from the fan protest movement Sell Before We Die joined Hugh Wozencroft and Adrian Clark on EFL All Access recently on TalkSport 2, gave his reaction to this news.
Craziness, isn't it? Absolute craziness. I mean, what kind of person would try and sell something as a whole kind of unit and then go, actually, we want to sell a little bit of it off to kind of someone else? It's completely and utterly erratic behaviour, which backs up Di Young in his 6 years tenure at Reading FC. Nothing has any plan. It's basically we're on a roulette wheel. It depends on which mood he's in, how he's going to act, how he's going to spend. If he's not going to spend money, it's an absolute disastrous move. But it is still retrievable, the situation. Let's not think that everything is doomed and everything is completely pointless, because that is not where we are. But yeah, being a Reading fan is really difficult right now.
What's your reaction to what Simon Jordan had to say? I know you probably heard it a while back, but does he have a point regarding the possible relegation of the club actually being a way that, you know, a positive end of the road could be found?
Well, I was on that one with Simon Jordan and I disagreed with him then, and I'm going to disagree with him now. I mean, you know, no Reading fan is going to, no fan of any club in the country is going to want their club to be relegated. and go into administration. It's just not a viable situation that you'd want to encourage. I see his logic underneath it all. I understand it. You know, if he goes right down to the rock bottom, we can start again. And we've seen examples of other clubs that have done that, like Luton, totally have been there. So it is possible. But I just see a structure at Reading FC with the training ground, with the stadium, with the team that we've got at the moment. If you take out the first 15 games, which is illogical, but, you know, it's football, so that's what we do. We've actually been in top 10 form. So we don't really have a bad team. But behind the scenes, I think it's a major issue. So, yeah, administration, obviously, I don't want to see what happen. I don't think it's there at the moment, but we're getting closer to it. But hopefully we never get to that point.
Looking from the outside, you know, someone that wants to buy Reading is probably not going to want to walk into a club that's divided. So how do you show them that Reading is together? You know, we've seen the protest, got the game called off against Bolton. You know, are fans going to protest again in that regard if Dai Young doesn't, you know, move the club on very, very quickly, or at least change his price?
Well, I mean, I think his price has got cheaper because obviously he's realised that no one's going to pay that price. He's still continuing to give us a ridiculous valuation. I can't see the fans protesting on the pitch anytime soon because obviously that would be absolutely guaranteed 3-point deduction. But as the mood changes and the situation gets more desperate, you can't eliminate any possibility. But I can't see that happening soon. As a togetherness, I think the fan base has showed that they massively have that, the way they've supported the team. Our away support has been fantastic this season. The fact that we have protested so much shows that if you are a person coming into the club, you've got a foundation there. You've got a support that's active and wants to get behind their team and believes in it and wants their town to be represented by their club. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And this thing that always sits there if you're an owner, we're very near to London. And this is the reality of how it works with these people that want to buy football clubs.
And do you know what? I think you should be proud of the players and the manager this season in very difficult circumstances. I think they've done great. You know, not getting their wages on time, you know, on some occasions, a lot of uncertainty there. You could forgive them for, you know, having their eye on the next club, you know, moving on in the summer, but they're playing for the badge, aren't they?
100% agree with you there. I think they've been absolutely brilliant. I think they're the team that actually, even despite the position that we're in, they've got the closest link with the fans. Because whether they win, lose or draw, you can see they are giving 100% in every single game. And that's all you ask for. It's not the best team we've had in the last 20 years or so. But you know, even with that scenario in the background, you'll know that as an ex-player, if you're being unsettled, it's going to give you problems, isn't it? Because we all have bills. It's all relative to how much you earn.
That's Paul Mann you were listening to there. He's from the Reading protest movement, Sell Before We Die. And he was chatting on EFL All Access on Talksport 2 yesterday with Hugh Rosencroft and Adrian Clarks. Always a good listen, that show. Really good recap of everything that's happened over the weekend in the Championship, League One and League Two. The latest episode is out to download right now on the free Talksport app or wherever you get your podcast. Just search out EFL All Access. Back here at Pride Park, both teams are out for the start of the second half. Don't appear to be any half-time changes that either Paul Warne nor Ruben Selles have made. Swindon have just taken an early lead at the start of the second half in League Two against Accrington. Just 1 win in 8 for the Robins, but they lead through Aaron Drinnen at the county ground. And half-time in the 2 Champions League games, Arsenal 1, Porto 0. That's live on Talk Sport tonight. So 1-1 on aggregate at the break. Barcelona 2, Napoli 1. That's 3-2 on aggregate on the night to Barca. And Bolton 2, Oxford 0 is now a half-time score in this division. A scoreline that knocks Derby out of the automatic promotion spots, but a goal for Derby and a win for Derby here tonight changes all that. Remember, it's 0-0 as we start the second half. I'll run you through the lineups in just a minute, but Derby in their white shirts and socks and black shorts, they're heading towards the south stand to our right in this second half. Courtney, Sweetman-Kirk and myself are about 25 rows back in the Toyota West stand. Reading in their change strip tonight of all purple are heading for the north stand away to our left. And Clinton Mola takes an early throw in on this left-hand side, gets it back from Charlie Savage. It breaks in midfield for Ben Elliott. who lays it off for Lewis Wing. Wing looks to find Sam Smith. He lays it off to Nibbs at the edge of the area. Smith again works it out to the left-hand side, and Elliott. Neat football as Reading come forward. Mola tries to whip the cross in left-footed, but a deflection off first Joe Ward, and then Curtis Nelson puts it out of play for a Derby throw. So at the Derby lineup, Wildsmith the keeper, Nelson, Bradley and Cashin, Ward, Harahan, Adams and Sibley, Mendes, Lang, Barkhausen and Gale. For Reading, Pereira is the keeper, Yiadom, Mbenge, Bindon and Mola, Wing and Savage, Aziz, Nibbs, Elliott and Smith. And it is Curtis Nelson to take the throw in for Derby. Slings it down this near touchline, but come to be dealt with by Mola. Elliott works it in field for Savage, who just hit it first time over the halfway line, but Derby win it back. Sibley into the centre circle, just bypasses Savage, but he has it presented to him by Tyler Bindon. Oh, lovely turn from Clinton Mola on halfway, works the ball in field, and it looked to me like Sam Smith was caught there, and he was by Cashin. Free kick to Reading just by the centre circle, and is Cashin going to get a yellow card? Indeed he is for that challenge, and I don't think he can have too many complaints. He came right through the back of Sam Smith to try and win that ball. Yeah,
and that's the problem. He does get a little bit of the ball, but not before he goes through the player there. But how well did Mola do? I think it's Mendes, Lang and Hurahan that are closing him down. Goes through the both of them through the middle. It's a lovely turn, and then finds the ball to feet.
Wing clips the ball into the box from the free kick, but it's too long and too straight. Just bounces once and through to Joe Wildsmith. Barnsley have turned it around up at Carlisle. It's Carlisle 1, Barnsley 2 now. John McAtee for the Tykes had their first defeat in 8 against Lincoln last time out, which is no shame because Lincoln have been on an incredible run of form. But McAtee's put the Tykes in front at Brunton Park. So that tightens things up at the top even more, because Barnsley would go on to 70 points, just 3 behind Derby if things stay as they are here. So you'd have Barnsley 70, Derby 73 and Bolton 74. Heavy challenge by Clinton Mola on Mendes Lang, and Paul Warne is straight off his seat in the dugout. Chelling referee Charles Breakspear, book him, Dano, like it's Hawaii 5-0, and he has booked him. Although the referee took his time in order to make that decision.
And I think that's why Mola's having the argument, as if to say, are you booking me because you want to book me, or are you booking me because the Derby manager's asking? But for me, it was a foul, it was a yellow card. It's a wonderful little pirouette, almost like that Maradona turn by Mendes Lang, and just gets cleared out from behind by Mola.
And the free kick's been taken too quickly for the referee's liking. He's still having a word with Ruben Sellers, who's being warned about his responsibilities. Remember, managers can get booked and sent off these days and get genuine yellow and red cards. And Sellers is one of the more demonstrative managers in English football. And he looks on as Ward clips the free kick up to the edge of the area. Heads go up, Reading get it clear. It's volleyed away downfield by Aziz. And it will drift out of play just next to where Ruben Sellers is stood with his 3/4 length coat at the edge of his technical area. Just speaking about Lincoln and the brilliant run they've been on, they're now 3-0 up against Cambridge. Joseph Taylor with the third for the Imps at the LNER Stadium. Now here's Yiadom, the Reading captain, lofting the ball down the right-hand side, asking Nibbs to give chase, and it will be hooked against him by Sonny Bradley and out of play for a throw to Derby County on the far side of the field from us. Derby heading for the south stand to our right in this second half. And Benge heads the ball into the Derby half. It won't quite break for Harvey Nibbs. Across came Joe Ward, and now Adams lays the ball off to Curtis Nelson. Gets it up to halfway, and the hustling Mendes Lang can now move into the Reading half. Clips it infield for Barkhausen. Looked like handball from Lewis Wing, but the referee waves play on. Barkhausen slides it down the right-hand side for Mendes Lang. Good cross in and headed over the bar. Barkhausen was flying in. In fact, it took a touch off a Reading player. In fact, it was Dwight Gale that was flying in at that near post. But it will be a corner kick to Derby at the south stand end, 0-0.
What I absolutely love about the start of this is Mendes Lang against Mola, and he checks as if he's going to run in behind, and then he doesn't. And Mola, I think he was still chasing Mendes Lang down that right-hand touchline, but as I say, he turns, comes back, gets the ball to feet, plays a good ball in field, and then the cross was brilliant. It had so much pace on it. I think it's Bindon in the end that manages to get ahead to it and get it to safety.
So Sibley will have the corner in the southwest corner, just down to our right-hand side. Deep to the far post. Up goes Nelson! Hits the side netting, goes behind. There are a few around us that thought that was in, but it hit a Reading player and went behind for another corner on the far side, 0-0.
Yeah, certainly one off the training ground, though. Mendes Lang, he's a short, goes long. Sibley plays it right over him, and I think it ends up with Nelson at that back stick. And I think me, like some of the Derby fans around us, thought that was in, but side netting it was.
So Joe Ward has the corner on the far side. A right-footed in-swinger to come from Ward. Raises his left arm, really whips it under the crossbar, punched half clear by Pereira. Did well, actually, because there was some real whip and pace on that Joe Ward corner. It's now back at the other end with the Derby keeper Joe Wildsmith, 0-0.
Yeah, he's done really well, Pereira. I've been impressed with him, and I think probably what lets him down is the ball at his feet. But in terms of his shot stopping, his positioning, his willingness to come and collect or punch a ball, I think he's been really good so far.
It's Derby County 0, Reading 0. And a foul by Charlie Savage this time on Conor Harahan gives the Rams a free kick.
I used to watch his dad make a few challenges like that at Filbert Street.
Well, yes, and at St Andrews, I can promise you that. Tranmere 2, Mansfield 1. The League 2 leaders are behind again. Rob Apter with the second for Tranmere. Aaron Wildig scored again for Newport. They lead Morecambe by 3-1 in League 2. Barrow equalised at Walsall through a Dean Campbell penalty. And Accrington Stanley equalised at Swindon. That's now 1-1 through a Jack Nolan penalty. You're up to date on Talksport 2. Derby have a free kick right in front of our commentary position, actually. About 15 yards inside the Reading half of the field. Ward plays a lovely ball in. Gale controls it and fires it home expertly. Fantastic control from Dwight Gale. 3 goals in 5 games. What an inspired decision it appears to be to bring Dwight Gale to Pride Park. Those goals could prove crucial, and that goal has effectively put Derby back in the automatic spots. The ball whipped in by Ward, and the first touch from Gale set it beautifully, and he just drilled it with such precision beyond Pereira into the top of the net. Derby 1, Reading 0.
Absolutely a forward's dream, that ball by Ward. It's flat, he's got pace on it, it's curling back towards, so it's going behind that Reading back line, who don't want to go for it because they know that they're probably going to turn it into their own net. Dwight Gale, how well does he do, by the way? This initial touch is fantastic. Then the way the ball sits up for him, begging to be hit, hits it straight and true with the outside of his right foot. Great delivery, great finish. And I think on the balance of play, Derby do deserve to be 1-0 up, Dance.
3 goals in 5 appearances is a more than decent return for Dwight Gale at 34 years young. And now Pride Park is a noisier place to be. Northampton 0, Blackpool 1 elsewhere in this division. Blackpool lead at Sixfields through Matt Pennington. And Derby finally have their noses in front. Good strong challenge from Adams on Charlie Savage. The home fans absolutely loved that. That was no quarter asked or given by either player. And the ball's worked back to Joe Wildsmith. Ball downfield looking for Barkhausen. Mbenge heads clear. Wing nods it down into the Derby half. It breaks for Savage in the centre circle. Rolls his foot on the ball. Keeps it away from Adams. Elliott scheming his way through the centre of the pitch for Reading. Yedon, the captain, waits for it on the right-hand side. It's fed into him. Hits the cross in. Deflected up in the air by Sibley. Smith! Oh, he's equalised! Reading are back level within 2 minutes, and it's Sam Smith who's now made it double figures in the league. Ben Elliott sent it out to the right-hand side. There was a slight deflection on the cross from Andy Yeardom off Sibley, I think, and it sat up for Sam Smith, who could nod it in at the near post past the stranded Wildsmith, and suddenly it's all square at Pride Park, 1-1.
Although Derby deserved to be up by the balance of play, actually in the start of this second half, I think it's been definitely more equal. than the start to the first half. And I thought that ball actually by Elliott had too much on it. I thought it completely overcooked it, but it's Yiadom, isn't it? Does so well to keep it in, and actually the deflection does Reading a favour, but Smith doing what he does and doing what all good forwards do, making sure he's in the right place at the right time, trying to pick up the bits, and Wildsmith, there's nothing he can do about that, and Derby will be disappointed the way that they've defended that.
Sam Smith makes it 10 for the season in League One to bring Reading level. Delight in that southeast corner as the Royals peg Derby County back. So it was pretty short-lived. 3 minutes between the two goals on Talksport 2, and Derby have to do it all again.
Well, and that's the problem when you've scored.
And they've been dispossessed. Here's Femi Aziz running through the centre circle. He's brought down by Ibu Adams, who's going to get a yellow card for a professional foul, as Reading were launching a counter-attack and I think had a man over. Yellow card for Adams. 1-1 the score.
This is the problem when you've conceded, Dancer. A lot of the time you've scored. You're at your most vulnerable for conceding, and that's what I think happened there. See the elation, the way that the Derby players and fans celebrated. They just switched off in terms of Elliott gets free in the midfield. He plays a good ball down the right-hand side. I don't know whether the fact that when Yiadom gets down the right-hand side, and I said I thought Elliott had overcooked the ball, I don't know whether the Derby players almost think the same and switch off a little bit. Sibley makes that last-ditch block in the end, but in terms of Smith as well, he gets free far too easily for my liking.
1-1 the score on Talksport 2. Elliott for Reading tries to swing the ball into the box. It comes out to Yiadom, and he clips it down the right-hand side of the box. Now that's an overhit pass that was intended for Aziz, and that's definitely gone behind for a Derby County goal kick. Chesterfield, the National League leaders, 2-0 up on Oxford City. Now Tom Naylor. I mean, it's a cheat code, but we've got players as good as Tom Naylor playing in the 5th tier of English football. That's why Chesterfield are as far clear as they are of the rest. So they're 2-0 up, and it's 1-1 here on Talksport 2. And just for a fleeting moment, Derby were back in second in League One. Now they're back in third place because Bolton are 2-0 up. Ball's rolled back to the keeper, Pereira. Barkhausen is closing down the space, but very calmly passed outside his own area by Joel Pereira. And he might have to clear again. Yiadom gives the ball away at the edge of the area, and then he brings down his man.
He's already on a yellow as well.
He's already on a yellow. He's got to be careful. Andy Yiadom. Was it Mola that was booked earlier?
They've both been booked.
There is a delay at St Andrews, I'm told, before the start of the second half. It is still Birmingham City 0. It is a red card, second yellow. And Reading are down to 10 men. And Andy Yiadom coming across to Charles Breakspear as if to say, what, me? Really? But he brought down his man. And as I'm often fond of saying, 2 lemons make a strawberry, you've got to go, son. And so Reading, having got themselves back level, and now a man down at 1-1, and it's their captain who's been red carded.
Oh, the players, Reading players still surrounding Charles Breakspear. The referee, they can't believe it. They think it's incredulous. To a degree, it does make you think that maybe Yiadom has got a touch on the ball, but from what I could see here, didn't look like it. Certainly a foul, certainly as well a foul that warranted a second yellow.
So Yiadom finally making his way to this near touchline to head down the tunnel. He's off.
Not before having a word with the fourth.
Second yellow card for the Reading captain, but he's protesting his innocence still before he disappears from view. And they are going to make a change, and Jeriel Dorset, a young defender, is going to be on shortly. But meantime, it's a free kick at the left-hand corner of the box to Derby. Yeah, it's delay at St Andrews. The referee is injured, apparently. So it is still Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1, but second half yet to commence. Might check in with Dave Rowe on that in just a minute here on Talksport 2. But what's going to happen with this free kick here? Ward and Harahan standing over it. It favours a right-footed strike from that left-hand side. 25 yards out, but it's Harahan who goes left-footed, low into the wall, behind for a corner kick. Derby's 4th corner of the game. 1-1 the score.
Yeah, we saw Harahan play a similar ball earlier that was flat And as you say, for the shot, it definitely suits the right footer for me, but I suppose you can try and outfox the Reading defence and try and get it flat to the front post.
So Ward, who took the free kick, will take the corner kick now, right-footed in-swinger at the south stand. And again, it's right under the crossbar and lands on the roof of the net. Pereira, I think, had it covered. Lands on the roof of the net. Let's get the detail on what's happening at St Andrews. Have they restarted yet, Dave Rowe?
Yes, just restarted, Dan. Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1. Referee Andy Davis went off injured around 10 minutes ago. Jeremy Simpson, the fourth official, has come on to replace him. The second half seen Birmingham make 2 changes at the break, in fact, with Bakuna and Hall coming on. They've been improved. They're playing further up the pitch, but no real side of goal so far. Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1.
Thank you, Dave. 1-1 here at Pride Park. But remember, Reading are now down to 10 men. Andy Yeardom sent off just prior to the hour for a second bookable offence by Charles Breakspear, and Gerald Dorset will be on in just a moment. So Derby have got half an hour at least, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, to try and make this man advantage count.
Yeah, they haven't. Barzukin does so well there initially to make up the ground, because I think that ball round the corner from Mendes Lang is perfect. Someone else should be anticipating that, and despite not anticipating the first ball, does really well to get to the second ball and win a free kick.
So Gerald Dorset is going to be introduced by Ruben Seles to change things around at the back for Reading. And who's he coming on for? Aziz. Coming on for Femi Aziz. It's his breakthrough year. He's made 16 appearances this season, Gerald Dorset, and has scored as well in League One. Managed to get a goal against Cheltenham Town.
Free kick dances in a very similar position that Derby scored from.
Almost exactly the same position, just a yard or two in from this near touch line. Midway point of the Reading half. Ward again standing over it. Goes deeper this time. Out comes the keeper and got something on it. Drops to the far side. Lobbed towards goal by Harahan. And it's out of play for a goal kick. And Lewis Wing has stayed down injured as he was clattered into as that ball was swept in. Just got his angles all wrong there, Conor Harahan.
He did, and then I think this potentially looks like a dead leg. When you get clattered into like that, trust me, it hurts, and the way that he's writhing round almost tells me that it's not something too serious. When that injury's really serious, you almost can't move. I just think that potentially the side of his thigh or near his knee has got caught. Looking at his ankle as well, but the initial ball again from Ward was excellent, but Hurahan, the second ball really for someone of his quality was really poor.
That's the voice of Courtney Sweetman-Kirk alongside me, Ian Danter. Courtney, former Liverpool and Sheffield United women's striker. Loads of live football to come on the network. We're just waiting whilst Lewis Wing gets some treatment down to the right-hand side. Live tomorrow night, we've got matches from the Premier League and Champions League. Bournemouth Luton is on Talksport. That's a 7:30 kickoff. Dortmund against PSV in the Champions League round of 16, second leg is on Talksport 2. Thursday night, West Ham against Freiburg in the Europa League round of 16. Remember, that's 1-0 to Freiburg from the first leg. And then the FA Cup kicks in. Saturday, Wolves Coventry kicks off our coverage for the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. That's at Molineux, Midlands Derby, to get all our weekend football underway for you. Portsmouth have doubled their lead against Burton Albion. The leaders 2-0 up at Fratton Park, and it's a second of the night for Kusini Yengi as well for Portsmouth. And we're finally going to get things back underway. Lewis Wing's going to have to wait, of course, 30 seconds before he can re-enter the fray. Now he's had treatment on the pitch from physios. 65 minutes gone, so 25 to go on Talksport 2. Derby County 1, 10-man Reading 1. Derby needing the win to stay second in the table. If they only get a point, Bolton are winning comfortably, so they'll go second. Here's Mendes Lang, crossing from the right-hand side, well claimed at his near post by Joel Pereira, who has kept goal well on his league debut tonight. 1-1.
I've been really impressed with him, and I don't think he's got too many appearances in senior football behind him at all, so to come in the way that he has, you know, he's made some important saves, he's commanded his area really well. He'll give Reading a bit of confidence to know that they've got him in reserve.
Nibs has got fouled there as Reading were trying to build midway point of the Derby half, so a chance for Reading to create something here. AFC Wimbledon 2, Gillingham 0 at Plough Lane, and a second of the night for Omar Bugil. Remember, Gillingham down to 10 men in the early stages of that game. Aldershot 4-1 up on Ebbsfleet in the National League. Much better season for the Shots in the National League. And Derby, Reading, a couple of changes down beneath us. And we will soon be seeing Kane Wilson and Martin Waghorn. Meantime, free kick for Reading. I'm not sure whether Lewis Wing, 40 yards out, really fancies a cracking goal here. He does. Takes a touch off the wall and goes behind for a corner kick. Well, Lewis Wing, I mentioned earlier in our commentary, he likes to go from distance, and he just cracked that goalwards, but it came off the head of a Derby player in the wall and goes behind for Reading's first corner of the game. 1-1 the score.
I think this is probably one of the only ways, really, that we're going to see Reading get back into this game now. Back to 10 players. They've got to take full advantage of these set-piece opportunities, because it's going to be hard graft from now for these 10 players that are on the pitch.
In fact, it's a triple change coming up for Derby. Corey Blackett-Taylor is also ready to be introduced. Meantime, Charlie Savage with the corner kick for Reading. Whips it into the near post, and Bindon went in, almost got something on it. Comes out to the right-hand corner of the box. Elliott with some good control initially, but the ball skips away from him in the end and behind for a Derby goal kick. That change will have to wait for a moment, because those 3 players, in fact it could be 4, because, yep, Corey Smith's coming on as well. A 4-change substitution, as out comes Joel Pereira and concedes a penalty as he barged into Dwight Gale. Pereira can't believe it. He says he got something on the ball. Charles Breakspear says that's a penalty kick. Will he take any further action against Pereira? You can hear the shouts of off around us. And Pereira is now running out of his penalty area and saying that either Gale handballed it, he gets a yellow card, does Joel Pereira. Is he suggesting that Dwight Gale handballed it as he took it round him?
I think so. It was difficult for us to see from here, Dan. What I will say is Pereira needs to be very careful. He's got the yellow card for the foul. He needs to not walk himself now into a red card. But what Dwight Gale did really well, as he's done all game, is on his front foot. That back line have never looked sure at him. Then Pereira has to make a decision. We've praised him all game, but he rushes out. And it's, as I say, I mentioned it, it's difficult to see whether he did get anything of the ball, whether Dwight Gale did handle it. But it's a big opportunity now for, I imagine, Conor Hourihane.
As a member of Reading's coaching staff, stood behind Ruben Sellers, who's also just been yellow carded by Charles Breakspear. But it's a penalty to Derby County here to restore their lead, which they only held on to for 3 minutes before Sam Smith equalised. And it's Conor Hourihane.
Watch this, dance, because Smith was talking and I think trying to get in the head of Hourihane. So if he does score, I'll be interested to see his reaction if he goes to Smith.
So the Derby County captain takes the responsibility to try and put the Rams back in front here with 20 minutes to go from the penalty spot. Pereira waits on his line, almost pointing to his right, saying, put it there to Hourihane. Referee blows his whistle. Short run up for Conor Hourihane. Left-footed strike on the way. Up he comes, left-footed, slots it away into the bottom left-hand corner, sending Pereira the wrong way, and Derby are back in front and back into second in League One. Hourihane from 12 yards does the business. Derby County 2, Reading 1.
It's a calm, composed penalty, isn't it? You see, he just waits for Pereira to move, slots it the opposite way, Hourihane. Dwight Gale does extremely well with the run. As I say, I'm not sure from what I thought it was a penalty, but he does extremely well with the run. He's now shaking hands with Pereira, who's outstretched the arm, so a little bit of an olive branch there. But now Derby, they've got to not do what they did when they first scored in terms of making sure that they keep concentrated. Yes, they're only against the 10 players of Reading, but they can't lose concentration now they've gone in front.
Well, that's Hourihane's last action, because he's coming off to be replaced by Corey Smith. And he's just given the captain's armband to Erin Cashin as well. Meantime, Joe Ward is coming off, and that's to allow Corey Blackett-Taylor to come on. I think it may just be a triple change now rather than a quadruple change. And Martin Waghorn is coming on for Dwight Gale, who's just won that penalty for Derby County. So Waghorn, Blackett-Taylor and Smith all on. Ward, Harahan and Gale have been replaced. And Derby lead by 2-1, and they've now got just less than 19 minutes against 10 men to hang on for 3 more precious League One points as we get towards the business end of this EFL campaign. Incidentally, Newport 3, Morecambe 3. Morecambe have just got 2 goals in quick succession at Rodney Parade through Chris Stokes and Gwion Edwards to make it 3 apiece in that League 2 encounter. Now here's Lewis Wing for Derby. Loses out inside the Derby half. Forward comes Smith. He's fouled. Bolton have a third against Oxford United in that 8 o'clock kickoff. George Thomason with the goal, and 24,821 here inside Pride Park. There'll probably be even more than that in here on Saturday when Bolton are the visitors. But that's, again, another indication of what an extraordinarily well-supported club this is at League One level.
It's just incredible. I think, you know, we talk about football in England, but you think about, it's not just the Premier League. Our pyramid is incredible, and to have that attendance in League One, fair play, not just to the Derby fans, but also the Reading fans that have made the journey tonight as well.
Yeah, there's a good few hundred Reading fans in that southeast corner who were very happy for a few moments at least when Sam Smith nodded them level, but it's since fallen apart a little bit for Ruben Sellers and Reading. As the free kick up to the edge of the area, flicked on by Cashin, almost broke through for Waghorn. Sent down the right-hand side by Curtis Nelson. Mendes Lang works it back in field. Adams plays it back to square for Sibley, who chips the ball up into the area. Barkhausen wanted to head it across the face of goal, couldn't quite get there. Mendes Lang got 2 players on the Reading side for company, but he manages to work the ball back down the line, then chips it in field for Barkhausen. Lovely ball down the right-hand side for Kane Wilson. Wilson trying to pull it back to Barkhausen at the edge of the area, but can only find a Reading shirt, and it's cleared away by Dorset.
Just feels like now for Reading, it's going to be wave after wave. Derby get in front, they've got the bit between the teeth. It's not just the fact that they're in front, you can tell they want to be progressive, they want more goals, and I think that's important for confidence as well, not just to win, but to try and win comfortably.
You're listening to Derby 2, Reading 1 in the EFL League 1 live on Talksport 2 with McDonald's. Order McDelivery on the McDonald's app and get tasty rewards points. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. And Solihull Moors lead against Boreham Wood in the Armco at the Armco in the National League. Callum Maycock for one of the playoff chasing teams behind runaway leaders Chesterfield. Lincoln 4, Cambridge 0. Is that a hat-trick for Joe Taylor? Well, it's certainly 12 unbeaten for the Imps, that's for sure. Cambridge still hovering above the drop zone. It would be something of a silver lining for Reading here tonight that the likes of Cambridge are losing. Carlisle 1, Barnsley 3. John Russell looks to have sealed the points for Barnsley. Free kick into the Reading area. Almost found Waghorn, but Reading managed to head it clear out on the far side. And the ball boy on the far side slips and gets away.
We're
for their
childish,
troubles.
aren't we, football fans?
We
all
are.
of
We're
us.
horrible. We are horrible. Newport back in front against Morecambe. It was 3-1, then it was 3-3, but Harry Charsley has just made it Newport 4, Morecambe 3 in League 2. We've got 15 minutes to go on Talksport 2 at Pride Park. Derby County 2, Reading 1. Reading down to 10 men. Second yellow card was issued to their captain, Andy Eardom. Not long after, Derby were awarded a penalty, which was very efficiently struck home by Conor Harahan, the Derby captain. He's since been substituted. And Reading a man down, have it all to do in the East Midlands. They have won a throw on halfway to be taken by Clinton Mola, who switched over to the right-hand side with Jeriel Dorset having come on as a left-sided defender. Femi Aziz was the player that went off for Reading as they readjusted to get 4 defenders back out there. Ball's back with Curtis Nelson. Squares the ball for Aaron Cashin inside his own half. Now Louis Sibley gets his head up. Looks to clip the ball down the field for the run of Waghorn, but that's well dealt with by Amadou Mbengue. And back it goes to Joel Pereira, who was a picture of incredible frustration when the penalty was awarded against him. And Ruben Selles may well have something to say about that when he talks to us pitch side after the game.
Yeah, he seemed very sure that it was a handball. I think he was gesturing by the white girl, so it'd be, as you say, interesting to speak to the manager after and see the replay as well.
Crew 1, Sutton United 0 in League 2. Elliot Nevitt for the Railwaymen started the night in 5th. Sutton, well, it just goes from bad to worse for Sutton United. Looks like they are going to be dropping back into non-league after only a couple of years in the EFL. And remember, don't forget, they ripped up the artificial surface they had at Gander Green Lane, which was a great community facility, because EFL regulations say you've got to have a grass pitch. Put the grass pitch in. A couple of years later, boom. Now Martin Waghorn for Derby. Puts the ball across the face. He got just beyond Barkhausen. Picked up by Mendes Lang, right-hand side of the area. Faced up by Dorset. Now has to turn away from his man for a moment. Keeps possession for Derby, though. Support from Kane Wilson, who picks it up now. Thinks about a cross, but then rolls it back for Mendes Lang, who's at the right-hand corner of the area. Just knocks it back for Adams. The cross-in's headed away. Only as far as Sibley. Out to Blackett Taylor. Down the left-hand side of the box to the byline. Wins a corner off Mola. And Derby are keeping the pressure up on 10-man Reading. They lead 2-1, the Rams.
Yeah, it's the right idea to square it to Barkhausen as well, but he's too busy wanting the penalty, and it goes past him. I think he can get the next ball from Mendes Lang, but he's too busy on the floor asking the ref for a pen.
Out to the left-hand side, Louis Sibley tries to play the ball around Ben Elliott. Bolton 4, Oxford 0. Aaron Collins gets the 4th for Bolton. And Swindon 1, Accrington 2. Alex Henderson puts Stanley in front at the county ground. Remember, Accrington, no manager at the moment after John Coleman's long spell. He's been dismissed, and 4 straight defeats for Stanley. There's a triple change being readied by Ruben Selles to try and work things back in Reading's favour, but they're running out of time. 12 minutes of normal time are left, plus whatever referee Breakspear wants to add on for stoppages. But Jaden Wareham, Kelvin Abrefa, and just looking to see who the other player is. Oh, it's Kelvin Ehebachiman are going to be coming on for these last few minutes. Derby win it back, though, coming forward at 2-1 up. It's Barkhausen looking to outpace, and Mbengue gets into the area, pulls it back to the edge of the box for Mendes Lang, who just tried to stretch out a boot under pressure from Savage and divert it somewhere towards goal. But it went out into the end for a Derby throw over on the far side of the field. 2-1 Derby. Yeah,
and Mbengue does really well there, because initially it looks like Barkhausen's got the beating of him, but what he does is he manages just to push him wide, takes the inside line, and Mbengue, and in the end manages to do enough to make sure that it doesn't come to anything.
Will be a Derby throw eventually. The Reading triple change is going to have to wait for a moment. Sibley to take it, level with the edge of the Reading penalty area. He gets it back from the midfielder Corey Smith, but the clearance from Reading downfield only finds Cashin. He looks for Corey Smith again. It's played across to this near side, the Derby right, and the barrel-chested Mendes Lang gives it out to this near side, and Kane Wilson. Mendes Lang looking to burst in field. Dorset diverts the ball in field away from him, but only into the path of Corey Blackett Taylor. Tries to thread it through the eye of a needle for Waghorn, but out comes Pereira, the Reading goalkeeper, to claim. 2-1 Derby.
Tell you what, though, it's not a bad idea, and the fact he actually gets the ball through that area, as impressive as it is, it's just the fact he's got too much on it on the end. Waghorn couldn't have gone any earlier than that, unless he would have been offside.
Kidderminster equalise against AFC Fyle. That's 1-1 at Agborough. Amari Morgan-Smith. Here comes the triple change for Reading. So Kelvin Ehebatchaman is coming on, and he's going to replace Sam Smith, who scored Reading's equaliser. And also Clinton Mola is making way for Kelvin Abrafa. Mola's put in a decent shift tonight. A couple of neat moments from him as well. But Abrafa coming on for him.
He was on a caution as well, so is Sellers, thinking we don't need to go down to 9.
Yeah. And Jaden Wareham, a young striker, he's coming on for Ben Elliott. So, in fairness to Ruben Sellers, he's rolling the dice a little here and giving some of his young players an opportunity to show what they're capable of. Ehebatchaman's an academy graduate, done really well in his breakthrough year, scored 3 goals, and he waits as a long throw comes in from the right-hand side, headed up in the air inside the Derby penalty area. Barkhausen heads it further clear, but it will drop for Abrafa. His first touch is to half volley it downfield. Might drop in the area for Nibs. No, it's headed away by Cashin, but kept down by Mbenge. Goes into the box. Nibs drives it goalwards and half volleys it into the turf and over. That was a chance for Reading to draw levels. The ball just dropped for Harvey Nibs, left-hand side of the box, but he drilled it into the ground and just over. Goal kick to Derby in the end, and they're about to bring on Craig Forsyth back from injury, and he's going to replace Nathaniel Mendes-Lang here.
You can hear the evasion that Mendes-Lang is getting from the Derby fans, and rightly so. He's been very good tonight. I've enjoyed watching his movement and the way he likes to get on the ball on the half turn and provide for others.
Yeah, he's done well, Mendes-Lang. He is the assist king. He's got 15 this season. Portsmouth 2, Burton 1. John Brayford gets one back for Burton at Fratton Park against the League One leaders. Crawley 2, Notts County 1. Crawley have turned it around from 1-0 down. Adeyemo makes it 2-1 to the Sussex club. Bolton 5, Oxford 0. Josh Sheehan really puts the seal on it for the Trotters, who come here on Saturday for what promises to be a thunderous game of football between second and third. And at the moment, it is Derby second, Bolton third. For a little while this evening, it was the other way round.
It's going to be interesting, the fact that, you know, despite Reading have gone down to 10, it's been a difficult game still for Derby to get their noses in front, and relatively easy night by the sounds of it for Wanderers.
Southend 2, Dorking 0 in the National League. Ball's back with Joe Wildsmith, the Derby County goalkeeper. And he's going to fire it downfield, down the left-hand side for Corey Blackett-Taylor. Out to the left-hand side it goes. Cashin, who's taken the captain's armband after Harahan went off, finds Kane Wilson. I was impressed with him when I saw him at Forest Green Rovers coming through, and it's a lovely run infield from Wilson. Still going, runs into Dorset, who gets a foot in and wins it back for Reading. And then Lewis Wing pirouettes just outside his own penalty area, neatly finds Dorset, and he threads it up to halfway. And Ehebatchaman, who actually shows good strength inside his own half and then drags it just inside Barkhausen. That's good skill from the academy graduate. But Barkhausen eventually wins it back for the Rams. 2-1 Derby lead. Remember, Reading down to 10. And we've got just over 5 minutes to play here, plus added time. Blackett-Taylor gets away down the left-hand side for Derby County. Only Waghorn in the box, waiting for a cross for Derby. And it's whipped in, overhit by Forsyth, and goes out on the full for a goal kick. Carlisle are not done yet at Brundon Park. Carlisle 2, Barnsley 3, Daniel Butterworth and Lincoln have hit 5, just like Bolton have in League One tonight. Lincoln 5, Cambridge 0. Timothy Aoma. So we're talking about what that means at the top of League One for Derby County. The fact that they're still second, Bolton third, Barnsley fourth. So all the top 4 are winning tonight. At the bottom, The one thing for Reading is that teams around them are also losing. Carlisle, Burton, Cambridge, Shrewsbury, all behind in their respective fixtures. Only Exeter of those teams around them are winning. Lincoln 6, Cambridge 0. As soon as I said they're 5-0 up, Dylan Duffy gets a 6 for the Imps. Corner to Reading. Over on the far side, chance for Lewis Wing to put Derby's defence under pressure. We're not done here. It's only 2-1 to Derby against 10-man Reading. Wing's corner into the near post. Hits the first defender. Cardinal sin, number 1 from a corner. Don't hit the first defender.
Exactly. You're down to 10, but you're still in the game at 2-1. Still an opportunity. As I said, set pieces are going to be the big one for Reading. As you say, you've got to miss the first player.
Amadou Mbenge winding up for a long throw to get it somewhere near the penalty area, and he's got it in. He flicked across by Batchman, but cleared away only as far as Lewis Wing. Wing clips it up to the edge of the area, skied high into the air by Adams, but there was a push.
He's jumping up and down.
Riverseller's jumping up and down like he's on a hot tin plate. Just so agitated was he, Sellers, that little passage of play has suddenly been broken up by a Derby County free kick. Solihull 2, Borehamwood 0 in the National League to Von Campbell for the Moors. And we have 3 minutes of normal time to play here at Pride Park. Derby County 2, Reading 1. Derby have a free kick against the 10 men of Reading inside their own half to be taken by Joe Wildsmith, who, let's face it, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, aside from picking the ball out of the net from Sam Smith's head, has had very little to do.
No, you're 100% right. It's clear that Pereira has been the busier of the keepers. Equally, though, I wouldn't say he's been peppered. He's had his moments. He's made a couple of good saves. But you look at Reading and you think they've kept themselves in the game, gone down to 10, doing themselves a little bit of disservice. Again, you look at the Wickham game previously, go down to a real acrobatic goal, then give away, get themselves back in it, give away a late penalty. So there's enough for me to show that they've got the ability to stay in League One. But it's just those little moments around the game management, where they're falling short at the minute.
Sibley giving chase down the Derby left, but Mbenge protects the ball well, and it goes out of play for a goal kick. Looking at Reading's next game, I mean, their next game is as important for them as Bolton is for Derby, because they're at home to Cambridge, who were right next to them in the table on 39 points, both of them, after tonight. And Cambridge have played a game less, so it'd be very important that they can do something about that. Meantime, another change. Paul McIroo, who scored the winner when Reading beat Derby in January, he has come on, and I think the player going off, just looking to see who it is on that far side that's gone off. I think
it might be Nibs.
It is Harvey Nibs that's gone off. You're dead right. He's on loan from FC Copenhagen, Paul McIroo, 24 years of age. Left-sided player usually. He's gone up to help bolster the attack. Long ball downfield, looking for the tall, rangy Hibachiman. But Derby win it back, and it's Blackett-Taylor looking to take the ball on the outside of a Brafer. Good run down the left-hand side for Derby, but across comes Lewis Wing. No-nonsense clearance, puts it out for a throw. We're into the last minute of normal time, plus whatever Charles Breakspear wants to add on, and we've, of course, had about 25 substitutions in this second half, haven't we, Courtney?
Yeah, goals, fouls, so, I think we need to rename football. We say 90 minutes, I don't think it's ever that anymore, is it? So I think we need to change that football cliche.
Well, Wilson can't pick up a ball that was sent across to him on this near side.
That's a foul throw.
Reading have a throw in. Savage with a foul throw, protests his innocence, but in fairness to Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, you called it even before the whistle went.
I don't know what he's doing. He's bending down. It was like he was choreographing the fact that he was doing a foul throw. It was very strange.
We're into 8 minutes of minimum stoppage time here at Pride Park. Apparently that's the same as they're going into at St Andrews in the One Championship game tonight. They had that referee injury. Still Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1. Bradford City 0, Forest Green 2. What a result for Steve Cottrell and Forest Green. Christian Deutsch again, he's bookended that game with goals in the first and the 93rd minute. So Forest Green, having had a wretched run of form, That's now 3 wins in 6.
Wow.
They might have something to say about their survival yet at the new lawn. Rochdale 2, Woking 1. Rochdale have turned it around through Devante Rodney, but veteran Ian Henderson's just been red carded for Rochdale in that game, but they do lead by 2-1 in the National League. Here in League 1, it is Derby 2, 10-man Reading 1, but that jeopardy's still there with just that 1-goal advantage for Derby, and Reading have thrown on a lot of attacking players, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, to try and create something in these 8 minutes, and we've had a minute or so of those.
Yeah, and I think actually the substitutes for Derby have maybe had the opposite effect in the fact that it's probably disrupted them a little bit. So where you've really wanted them to, or at least the Derby fans are wanting to push on and get that 3rd goal, I think the amount of subs has just halted their momentum, and actually it sent it in Reading's way.
Well, I think the thing is they were planning a 4-man change just before they got themselves back in front. And I think they ended up just being a 3-man change from Paul Warne. He got a bit more circumspect after the ball hit the back of the net. Meantime, Reading have it with Ehibachiman on this near side, trying to wriggle away from Kane Wilson, but Wilson does well, and he releases Barkhouse and onside. Waghorn's in space inside the area, pulls it across the Waghorn. Brilliant save, Pereira. What a save from the Portuguese to keep Reading just a goal behind. That looked a certain goal for Martin Waghorn, but not to be.
Yeah, brilliant save. Barkhausen, by the way, was definitely onside. He was in line with us, and then does the right thing, in my opinion, in terms of playing it across to Waghorn, who's probably, 4 or 5 yards out, but Pereira makes himself big. It's a fantastic save.
Well, he's playing his way into contention for upcoming fixtures, Joel Pereira. David Button's the usual number 1 here at Reading, but he's out with illness tonight, and he's made 2 or 3 top-class saves across this 90 or so minutes to give Ruben Selles plenty of food for thought.
Yeah, that's all you can do. In football's a funny thing. You don't always get your opportunities for positive reasons. In terms of, you mentioned Button there, he's out ill, but Pereira's got to grab his opportunity when it comes, and for me, he's given away the penalty, but in terms of the rest of his performance, I think he's done really well.
Derby 2, Reading 1 on Talksport 2. Tranmere have beaten the League 2 leaders Mansfield by 2-1, and that's confirmed that Forest Green have won at Bradford by 2-0. So big scorelines at either end of the League 2 table tonight. Remember, every goal matters. There's something riding on it for promotion, for playoffs, for relegation, and Tranmere now 3 unbeaten with that win over the Stags. So full-time start to trickle in from around the country, but we're still playing here. We've got at least 4 minutes of football left to play. Derby 2, Reading 1. Reading down to 10 minutes. Oh, that's a bad challenge from Kelvin Abrafa. You heard Courtney Sweetman-Kirk not too impressed with it. And that's a yellow card for the substitute.
No, I'm probably about right. It's interesting though, Dan, we're speaking about all these goals as well, and just looking at the table now, and in terms of goal difference, draws Bolton closer to Derby, draws them a lot closer on goal difference to Portsmouth, just 1 behind. So, come the end of the season, with how close we're seeing the top now, goal difference could be a factor.
Newport County 5, Morecambe 3. I think the points are safe for Newport now. What's been a topsy-turvy game at Rodney Parade. Seb Palmer-Halden with the 5th for the Exiles in League 2. Carlisle 2, Barnsley 3 is a full-time score, so it looks like the top 4 are all going to win in League 1 tonight. And they had to work hard for that 3 points, Barnsley. Swindon 1, Accrington 2, so Accrington get their first win after 4 straight defeats. And Walsall 1, Barrow 1 is a full-time. So too Northampton 0, Blackpool 1 in League 1, and Shrewsbury 0, Exeter 3. So Exeter, one of the few teams in that bottom half of the League 1 table, picking up points tonight. Reading in possession, 2-1 down. Long ball downfield looking for Ehibachiman. It's headed away by Cashin, who's got his head to most things tonight for Derby County at the back. But the ball's back with Lewis Wing on halfway for Reading. Drills it into the half. It's slid down the right-hand side of the box looking for Ehibachiman, but he couldn't control it. Ball intended for him from Mukari, just overhit. And Joe Wildsmith can pick it up, the Derby goalkeeper, and time ticks away. 95 minutes and 38 seconds played. 2-1 Derby.
Yeah, and just picking up what you said about Cashin Dance, I think he's been excellent tonight. You mentioned in the air, he's won everything. I think there was only one time I can remember down this right-hand side where Aziz beat him 1v1, but aside from that, it's been pitch perfect.
Leighton Orient 0, Port Vale 0 is a full-time score, so a first clean sheet in 13 for the Valiants, but still no win as yet for Darren Moore. But that's a good point they picked up at Brisbane Road. Now down the right-hand side for Derby County, Barkhausen touches the ball inside and Bengay, but runs into traffic. There were enough purple shirts back there, and Bengay slides it up to halfway. Neat touch from Mukairu, and he works it out to the right-hand side on a Brafer. Diagonal ball into the box, looking for Ehibachiman. He's a tall man, knocks it down well, and Cashin headed it outside the area, right-hand side, and volleyed downfield. He's a handful, Kelvin Ehibachiman.
Yeah, he's been excellent, and actually the subs have come on for Reading and made a real difference, and I've been impressed with their attitude since they've gone down to 10. They've not, sulked and thought that's game over. They've done everything to try and get back in the game.
AFC Wimbledon have beaten 10-man Gillingham by 2-0. Still 2-1 to Derby here. And Kane Wilson goes down as he's brought down by Mukairu. That'll be a free kick to Derby County just to eat up a few seconds as we go into the final minute of the minimum 8 that have been added on.
It's interesting.
They'll take their time over this free kick. Sorry, Courtney.
I was just saying it's interesting. Derby, they're in front at home. Reading are down to 10, but they run it in the corner. That shows you how hard that Reading have worked to try and get themselves back in the game, and how Derby now just want this whistle to blow.
Yeah, they're protecting it in the corner flag through Martin Waghorn. And then the ball hit against Mukairu by Dorset, and that ends up being a Derby corner from out of nothing. 2-1 to the Rams.
And Reading will just be looking at that thinking, well, when you looks out, it couldn't have landed any worse for them.
Lincoln 6, Cambridge 0 is a full-time score. Wickham have beaten Wigan by 1-0. And the full-time whistle goes here at Pride Park, and Derby remain in second place in League One, and their destiny remains in their own hands. They were made to work hard by struggling Reading tonight. They went 1-0 up early in the second half through Dwight Gale's cultured finish. But 3 minutes after that, Reading were level when a cross from the right was nodded home by Sam Smith for his 10th goal of the season for the Royals. But Derby were not to be denied, and Dwight Gale won a penalty when he was collided into by Joel Pereira, making his league debut for Reading tonight. And the captain, Conor Harahan, stepped up and rolled home the penalty with a minimum of fuss. That's how it stayed. Derby were frustrated in the first half. Pereira made 2 terrific saves, and Cashin headed against the post when Derby applied lots of pressure. But it was finally brought to bear in the second half, and they stay second in the League One table. It's finished Derby County 2, Reading 1. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
Yeah, and I think, look, Reading will be so disappointed because they put their heart and soul into this game. I think in the end, the quality that Derby possess, and you mentioned Dwight Gale, it's absolutely fantastic. The initial first touch to set himself up for that. The ball in, by the way, from Ward was excellent. Horahan, in terms of him as well, stepping up to take that penalty, calm and composed. But actually, when Reading went down to 10 men, they couldn't have done more to get back into the game. The substitutes worked well by Sellers, but in the end, I think that just lack of quality and maybe a little bit of lack of experience as well made them fall short tonight.
Well, the Reading players are getting a very warm hand from the travelling Royal supporters in the southeast corner. I should imagine the Middlesbrough players are getting a fair old rapturous reception from the travelling Teesside army, because they've won at St Andrews. There for Talksport 2, Dave Rowe.
Yes, indeed, Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1, the final score. There was only one real moment of quality in a low-quality game, and it won the game. Riley McGree's strike back at St Andrews, the former Birmingham player, shooting from the edge of the D in the 17th minute, arrowing his shot into the top corner. Brilliant strike, and really Birmingham never looked like scoring in response. It means that Middlesbrough have won 3 on the bounce. They're up to 9th place now, 5 off the pail, so certainly an outside chance there. But look at Birmingham, 1 point from their last 5 games. They're 1 clear of trouble. They've lost their game in hand. They have got big problems. Final score, Birmingham 0, Middlesbrough 1.
And Dave, 0 shots on target as well tonight is as ominous a stat as I can find anywhere.
Yeah, there was never any sign, Danter, Birmingham ever threatening Dieng throughout the evening. They threw on Jutkiewicz late on, they threw on Roberts late on, they brought Stansfield out wide. Nothing worked, nothing was going on. Wow, what a game they've got coming at the weekend. They've got Watford, who of course also in free fall on Saturday, and if they go into the international break having lost those 2 games, who knows, they could be in the bottom 3 by then. What do they do then? They've got the situation with Tony Mowbray, who will wish and hope he's going to be making a good recovery, but at the moment they are the team that are sinking and they're in trouble.
And quickly on Middlesbrough, we shouldn't forget this, another side to this story. They still have a playoff challenge.
They do. It's a big result for them. It's been a big week or 2 for them. They've got themselves right back in contention. They're 5 points behind Norwich, Hull and Coventry covered by 1 point, and then Borough at the top of a little group with Preston and Cardiff, who just need to keep the run going. They've got a winnable home game against Blackburn at the weekend, so it could yet be excitement for Carrick side.
Dave, thank you very much indeed. Dave Rowe, our man at St Andrews in the 1 championship game tonight in the EFL, finishing Birmingham City 0, Middlesbrough 1. Finished here at Pride Park, Derby County 2, Reading 1. So the top of League 1 as you were. Portsmouth, Derby, Bolton and Barnsley all winning tonight. Bolton are still playing, but they're so far ahead there's no chance of a comeback in their game at home to Burton. They are currently 5-0 up on the Brewers. So Portsmouth 80 points, Derby 75, Bolton 74, Barnsley 70, and remember, Bolton come here to Pride Park on Saturday afternoon, which promises to be a humdinger of a game, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
Yeah, certainly does.
And elsewhere at the bottom of the table, Reading stay on 39 points, same as Burton and Cambridge, who both lost tonight. Cheltenham, who've not played tonight, now have 2 games in hand on Reading. Remember, they're 34 points in the final of the relegation spots, the Robins. 34 points, but 36 games played. So if they can get anything out of those games in hand, they can overhaul Cambridge, Burton and Reading to get themselves out of the doo-doo at the bottom of League 1. Elsewhere around League 2 tonight, the leaders Mansfield were beaten, but Wrexham, I think, have only managed a 0-0 draw at home to Harrogate. They've cancelled each other out of the racecourse. So Mansfield on 69 points. Pretty sure that's right with the defeat that they've had. Let me just check. Yeah, 69 points. Wrexham 67. Stockport, who didn't play tonight, 66. Those are the 3 automatic spots. Crewe 64, MK Dons 64, Barrow 60, and AFC Wimbledon, who beat 10-man Gillingham tonight, 57 points. Well, it's been a very intriguing night here, but Derby County have got the job done. Final thoughts from you, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, on whether you think, I mean, Derby have got their destiny in their own hands. Do you think they're going to be the team that are going to put last season's massive disappointment behind them?
Yeah, I can see that. I think bringing Dwight Gale in, bringing that experience in, you've got Horahan as well, who's got a lot of experience. You look around the team, you've got that great blend of experience and exciting young players. But I just want to say about Reading as well, I've seen enough from them today, the grit and determination to think that, you know, if a little bit of luck falls their way, that they can stay in League One, because I've seen enough about them as a team to think that they've got that togetherness and that will. But, you know, obviously the technical and tactical side of the game is also important.
Courtney, thanks for being with us tonight on Talksport 2, as always. More live football coming up tomorrow night from the Premier League and the Champions League across the Talksport network. Don't forget, Bournemouth against Luton on Talksport. Dortmund against PSV here on Talksport 2 in the Champions League. We will bid you farewell from Pride Park. You'll hopefully hear from Paul Warne, the Derby manager, and Ruben Sellers during the course of the sports bar, across your sports bulletins in the morning. But the full-time score here sees the Rams stay in second place in League One. Final score at Pride Park, Derby County 2, Reading 1.